Chapter 1. White waves surge into the sky, and the sky is as clear as blue. On the sparkling beach, several white-shell sand crabs are cautiously approaching the food not far away. There were several vultures hovering in the sky, seemingly eyeing the food on the beach and preparing to pounce down to feast. Suddenly, the approaching sand crab stopped abruptly and then quickly retreated back to the cave on the beach. There was also a trace of regret in the eyes of the hovering vulture. What's going on? The food struggled to turn over, and it turned out to be a teenage boy. The dazzling sunlight made him unable to open his eyes for a while. Cough. Who am I? My body is so sore. Suddenly the boy's eyes widened angrily, and veins popped up on his forehead. The intense headache felt like a red-hot iron had been stuffed into him, and a large number of chaotic memories were rolling, colliding, and blending in his mind. Even though he had no strength, his body still rolled involuntarily and rolled more than 10 times on the beach. It was not until 10 minutes later that the heart-wrenching headache gradually subsided. Hoo-hoo. With his chest heaving and breathing fiercely, he opened his eyes slightly and stared blankly at the blue sky, where a few vultures were still circling. Crossed the East China Sea? One Piece Roger. Noah? Carnegie Noah. From today on, I am Carnegie Noah. As for the name I once had, let it go with the wind. Noah lay quietly on the beach, accepting the reality of time travel, and at the same time silently sorting out the memories in his mind. Whether it was the memory of his previous life or the memory of his original body, these are very important things. His real name is Carnegie Noah. He is 13 years old, 184 centimeters tall, and 88 kilograms in weight. He was born on Starfish Island in the Pole Star Islands. The Pole Star Islands are where Rogue Town is located. His parents were killed 3 years ago. He was killed by pirates and became an orphan. Now he lives off his parents' inheritance and fishing. The reason why he was lying on the beach today was because he went fishing and was attacked by a sea monster. The small fishing boat disintegrated directly at sea. Fortunately, the sea monster was fighting with another sea monster, so he escaped and was swept away by the current. On the beach, Noah resisted his exhaustion and crawled to the coconut tree not far away. A cool sea breeze and the shade of the coconut trees prevented his body from facing the direct sun. With his back against the coconut trees, Noah looked at the sea in the distance and saw no trace of the ship. However, he estimated that his location was still near Starfish Island. After all, he was originally an ordinary person. If he had drifted on the sea for too long, he would have been eaten up by sea fish and sea beasts. Now that it's here, make peace with it and let Noah calm down. Continue to organize the memories in your mind. This year is the year 1501 of the Hylinean calendar. It was the morning of May 7th when he died. The sun is still in the sky now, so it is probably May 7th. The original family relationship was very simple. 3 years ago, due to the outbreak of the Great Pirate Age, Marine encircled and suppressed pirates who went to sea around Rogue Town. One of the pirates fled to the vicinity of Starfish Island, resulting in his parents being killed by pirates. In addition to his parents, he also has a cousin Carnegie Joseph and a cousin Carnegie Joshua alive. The other is also a fisherman on Starfish Island. Noah, who was only 10 years old at the time, was able to survive only because of the support of his cousin Joseph. Uncle Joseph should soon notice that he is missing. Noah looked at the sea silently in his heart. He used to say hello to each other when he went fishing at sea. As long as he didn't go back this evening, his uncle would soon find out that something had happened to him. He recalled the situation around Starfish Island. Haishing Island is located about 168 kilometers north of Jiuxing Island in Rogue Town. It is the main island of the Haishing Islands under the Jiuxing Islands. The Haishing Islands have 3 inhabited islands and 16 desert islands with vegetation. The island under his feet is most likely one of the deserted islands in the Haishing Islands, because he has been to several inhabited islands. There are many fishing boats and merchant ships around those islands, and when you look at the sea here, in addition to seagulls, there are white clouds, apparently off the busy route. Take a break while organizing your memory. Half an hour later, after Noah felt that his body was no longer so tired and sore, he quickly stood up and picked up a 3-meter-long abandoned bamboo pole at the beach. Looking down at the coconut tree that was providing shade just now, there are more than a dozen green coconuts hanging on it. After poking for more than 20 minutes, 2 green coconuts finally fell down. Noah licked his dry lips, picked up the 2 green coconuts, and smashed them on the rocks not far away. Bang bang, click. As soon as he heard the cracking sound, he quickly turned the coconut over, then put the crack to his mouth, and a stream of sweet coconut juice emerged from the crack in the coconut shell. Gulu gulu. Ha, comfortable. Noah wiped the coconut juice from the corner of his mouth, and then continued drinking until he drank up both coconuts, which made his stomach feel a little full. He looked around. On the coast of this small beach, there were more than 20 coconut trees scattered in an orderly manner. There were green coconuts on the coconut trees. These green coconuts were the source of life for him before he found fresh water. I drank coconut water and rested for about half an hour. Noah picked up the bamboo pole and picked up a few palm-sized stones on the beach and put them in his pocket. He planned to explore the small woods around the coast. Although there was a high probability that there would be no large beasts on this small desert island, Noah still did not dare to take it lightly. He grabbed the stone in his pocket and threw it into a bush about 10 meters away. At the same time, he waved the bamboo pole and slapped the surrounding grass and bushes to scare out any creatures that might be hiding in them. Sure enough, his caution was correct. In the bushes not far away, a green snake was photographed by a bamboo pole and quickly fled to other places. In this primitive jungle, the most dangerous things are snakes, insects, rats, ants, poisonous weeds, poisonous trees, and poisonous mushrooms. After passing through the coastal mangrove forest of more than 20 meters, the terrain began to become higher, and a lot of bamboos appeared, but no large beasts were found. But Tamsui, whom he cared most about, was not found, which made Noah feel depressed. Keep exploring. About 200 meters into the bamboo forest, his eyes suddenly lit up. Not far away, there was a large mountainous area with rugged rocks. Between the cracks in the rocks, there was a trickle of water dripping. Instead of rushing over, Noah continued to pat the surrounding grass and shrubs to avoid capsizing in the gutter. When he got close to where the spring water was dripping, he quickly took some water and licked it a few times with his tongue. It's fresh water. That's great. With fresh water, you can survive on a desert island for a longer period of time. After all, coconut water cannot be drunk for a long time. Noah picked up the pebbles in his pocket and smashed them against the rocks not far away. After a while, he smashed out several rocks and picked out a sharp-edged stone. He returned to the bamboo forest along the same route. I found a reasonably sized bamboo and smashed it with the sharp edge of a stone. After more than 10 minutes, the bamboo was finally broken. At this moment, Noah's eyes suddenly widened, as if he vaguely saw something. End of chapter. Chapter 2. Is this? Could it be? Noah looked at the sparse bamboo leaves. Under the setting sun in the afternoon, a fruit the size of a fist was hanging on the end of a bamboo branch. Although several bamboo trees in this bamboo forest had grown fruit, this fruit caught his attention. The reason is that there are faint lines on the surface of this fruit, which are obviously different from other bamboo fruits. He raised the bamboo pole and hit the fruit. After beating for 5 or 6 minutes, the fruit finally fell off. Noah dropped the bamboo pole and picked up the fruit that fell on the ground. He saw that the surface of the green fruit was covered with spiral arabesque patterns, and these arabesque patterns were composed of squares superimposed one by one. It's really a devil fruit, but I don't seem to have any impression of this shape and type of devil fruit. Judging from the shape of this fruit, first of all, you can rule out the devil fruits you know. Do you want to eat it? He thought about it for more than 10 seconds with a gloomy expression, then gritted his teeth and stuffed the whole fruit into his mouth. Noah didn't have much ambiguity about whether to eat devil fruit or not, because he had no choice. Even if this devil fruit was an ordinary animal type, he didn't have any objection. Maybe many people will focus on thunder fruits, vampire fruits, and the like. The problem is that his current location is in the East China Sea, and he is an ordinary person. Even if he trains hard, he will not be able to obtain brigadier-level combat effectiveness immediately. Without brigadier-level combat effectiveness, he will not even be able to get out of the East China Sea, let alone forget about going to the Grand Line to get the thunder fruit and vampire fruit. There is a devil fruit in front of you now. If you don't eat it, if pirates land on the deserted island tomorrow, or if there are hidden dangers on the deserted island, you will regret it. Gulu. As the fruit was swallowed, a special wave began to ripple through his body. At the same time, some instinctive information also emerged in his mind. The card. It turns out to be the card fruit. Noah slapped his palm on the bamboo pole, and suddenly a card appeared on the surface of the bamboo. A blank card. Creation? Holding this card, countless thoughts flashed through his eyes. He picked up the stone that smashed the bamboo just now and pressed it on the surface of the blank card. Suddenly, the stone seemed to sink into water and quickly sank into the blank card. As the stone sank into the blank card, a stone pattern appeared on the blank card. Noah could sense the stone in the card and the tiny space inside the card, a space of about 1 cubic meter. As expected, the book fruit user from the Big Mom Pirates can develop space storage capabilities in books, and the same can be done with card fruits. The two are very similar in this regard. Noah tried to turn his body into a card again, but nothing happened. Obviously, the card fruit belongs to the super creature and superpower type, rather than the superhuman type. He didn't complain about the card fruit being rubbish. After all, there are no rubbish fruits, only rubbish ability users. Although this sentence is a bit absolute, it still makes sense. At least Noah doesn't think the card fruit is garbage. If it is developed well, it will be very powerful. After initially trying the fruit's ability, I looked at the blazing sun and the blue sky. There were still 2 or 3 hours left before evening, so I could only stop trying the fruit's ability. Dragging the broken bamboo, we arrived not far from the stone slope. Soon Noah found a suitable location to build a shelter. On the side of the stone slope near the bamboo forest, there was a large rock protruding more than 1 meter. It should be possible for a person to lie down. While it was still dark, he quickly went to the bamboo forest and mangrove to pick up a lot of dead branches and leaves, and peeled off some bark from a palm-like tree, which was very suitable for weaving straw ropes. Soon he had braided a straw rope, added bamboo and a dry dead tree pole, and made a simple bow drill. Make a groove out of a piece of relatively hard deadwood, put in a lot of deadwood chips prepared in advance, pick up the bow drill and start pulling it up, and rub the hard deadwood drill bit quickly in the groove. 10 minutes later, Noah, who was sweating profusely, saw a wisp of smoke coming out of the groove. He immediately stopped drilling and lay down quickly. Blowing gently, the fire buds in the groove soon spread little by little, until they reached the critical point, and a small spark emerged from the pile of deadwood chips. Continue adding dead branches and leaves, and soon the fire begins to burn. With fire, Noah felt more at ease. He put a small pile of large pieces of deadwood into the fire, then lit a stick of deadwood, and took a card with a cubic meter of dead branches and leaves sealed in it, and went under the big rock. Liberation. The card released its defense, and the dead branches and leaves stored inside were immediately released. He ignited these dead branches and leaves, and burned the area under the big stone to avoid snakes, insects, rats, and ants that might be inside. Half an hour later, he extinguished the flames under the rock with a few cubic meters of sand collected from the beach. He also dragged over a dozen bamboos and formed a simple fence around the big rock. Then raise a fire on the side of the big rock. Evening. The sun sets. In the simple shelter, hundreds of kilograms of dead wood and several green coconuts have been piled up. Half a coconut shell is roasting on the stone stove, with boiled clams and sand crabs inside. Noah took the other half of the coconut shell and took a sip of hot water. Then he smeared some grass juice on his face and exposed limbs. This is a juice called ghost chrysanthemum. Its effect is to repel mosquitoes and repel insects. Many residents of Starfish Island will collect it and dry it to make mosquito coils, but now there was no time to dry it, so I had to apply it directly. After a simple meal of sandy clams and sand crabs, the sky turned completely dark. He sat cross-legged on the sand, adding firewood and studying the card fruits. He picked up a piece of burning wood and tried to seal it in the card. However, as soon as the card came into contact with the flame, it burned directly, and the power of the card fruit contained in the bamboo piece immediately dissipated. Are wooden cards afraid of fire? Noah was thoughtful. Then he pulled out a stone card from the rock wall behind him and sealed the burning wood again. This time he succeeded, and a pattern of burning wood appeared on the stone card. Looking at the pattern on the stone card, he came up with another thought. Is time in the card space stationary? Half an hour later, he touched Shika's seal again. The burning wood was still the same as before the seal. Obviously, time inside the card space stood still. Then he took out a card with a sand crab sealed on it. After the seal was released, the sand crab was also alive and kicking. He was not too surprised by this, because shushu fruit can also seal living creatures. However, compared to the book fruit, the card fruit is more flexible in the application of sealed objects. After all, the cards can be used alone, but the book must be taken out in its entirety, which can be limiting in some cases. End of Chapter 3. After figuring out some basic information about card fruits, Noah started the Inca. Several 1 cubic meter bamboo cages were woven with bamboo, then filled with dead branches and leaves, and then lit. When the fire reached its peak, the bamboo fire cages were sealed. Stone card, ghost lantern, is completed. Using similar principles, he successively produced more than a dozen types of cards, including shika, smoke lantern rain, At the moment of liberation, a dozen football-sized bamboo lanterns can be released. There are a large amount of semi-dry and semi-wet firewood inside, and a large amount of smoke can be emitted. Shika, smoked lantern rain. The effect is similar to that of smoked lantern rain. The difference is that it releases smoke, but he doesn't do much research on poisons and can only collect a nearby poisonous weed, Budlia vine, as raw material. Shika, falling stone. There is a big stone sealed inside. If it is released in midair, the stone will fall down from midair. Shika, rock rain, has dozens of small stones sealed inside. If it is released in midair, the stones will fall down from midair. Shika, thorn ball rain. There are dozens of small bamboo cages sealed inside. The bamboo cages are filled with stones, and the surface is wrapped with a kind of vine called wasp thorns. Being stung by wasp thorns is as painful as being stung by a wasp. Shika, haiba, contains a cubic meter of seawater sealed inside, which is specially used to deal with devil fruit users. Shika, quagmire, has a cubic meter of soil sealed inside, which can be used to deal with flames. Shika, sand, a cubic meter of dry fine sand is sealed inside, which can instantly create a large area of sand and dust to interfere and block sight. Shika, poisonous ant nest. There is a red-toothed poisonous ant's nest sealed inside. Being bitten by this ant will cause pain like burning fire, and it will last for several days. Shika, storage box. There is a cubic meter-sized bamboo basket sealed inside, which can be used to store food or daily necessities. There are 11 types of cards in total. If it were not for the limitations of materials and equipment, Noah could create more and more powerful cards. He printed more than 100 of these cards in total. Before many of the cards were perfected, his physical strength began to fail, so he could only sleep first. The wilderness of the desert island is very quiet. Soothed by the sound of insects and sea waves, the night passed quietly. The first ray of sunlight in the morning shone on his face. Noah opened his eyes and yawned. He didn't sleep well last night and got up several times in the middle of the night to add firewood. After patting his sore body, he picked up a bamboo pole and slapped it on the ground, walked through the bamboo forest and mangrove, and came to the beach by the sea. Looking at the sea in the distance, there is still no trace of the sail. It seems we can't sit back and wait any longer. Noah began to search for useful supplies on the beach, and at the same time picked up some oysters and clams, ready to take them back for breakfast. There were many abandoned boat logs, bamboo poles, rotten fishing nets on the beach, and he even picked up a rusty Madara's broken knife. After going back and making breakfast, Noah quickly explored the entire desert island along the coastline before noon. After walking for more than 4 hours, we finally circled the desert island. This island is not small, with a coastline of about 50 to 60 kilometers in circumference and high mountains in the middle of the island. No other islands can be seen in the southeast, northwest, and there is no trace of ships. He found a large group of walruses on the west side of the island, and he took the opportunity to sneak attack on one. Returning to the shelter, he sharpened the broken knife again and cut more than 10 kilograms of walrus meat. The remaining meat was sealed in the storage card, then wrapped in banana leaves and mud, and directly made into beggar's meat. Although there was no seasoning, Noah still devoured it and swallowed more than 10 kilograms of meat. After eating more than 10 kilograms of meat, he patted his belly and felt only 70% full. The body has become more edible. In the past, he could eat up to 5 or 6 kilograms of food in one meal, but now he has more than tripled that. It seems that even the paramecia devil fruit will increase the body's potential, but the increase in strength is not as obvious as that of the animal type. With food reserves in hand, Noah has been exercising in the bamboo forest at noon. In the afternoon, when the sun was not so fierce, he went to the beach to pick up a lot of shells, built a simple charcoal kiln and a simple lime not far from the shelter, and then began to burn charcoal and lime. At night, card fruits are developed. Time passed day by day until a week later. Noah, who was having a barbecue on the beach, suddenly saw a small fishing boat appearing on the sea not far away. He quickly took out the card and released a smoke lantern. Suddenly, thick smoke billowed on the beach. After seeing the thick smoke, the fishing boat in the distance immediately adjusted its canvas. More than an hour later, the fishing boat rushed onto the beach, and a figure jumped out in a hurry. "Little Noah, you are indeed fine. Uncle, I'm making you worried." The visitor was Noah's Uncle Carnegie Joseph, a middle-aged man with black hair tied in a ponytail and a tired look on his face. He grabbed Noah's shoulder with bloodshot eyes. "Noah, you can still fish with me in the future. If something happened to you, and I don't know how to explain it to my elder brother." Noah looked at his exhausted uncle and could only nod. "Okay, Uncle, let's sit down and take a rest first. The two rested on the beach for more than an hour and ate barbecue and coconut water before working together to push the fishing boat into the sea, fill the canvas and ride the wind and waves. Noah, let's go home. Okay, Uncle. Noah helped control the canvas. More than 7 hours later, the sun was setting. A small fishing boat docked slowly at the small pier of Starfish Island. Several old fishermen breathed a sigh of relief when they saw Joseph and Noah, and then gathered around them. Little Noah, you're fine. We have been looking for you nearby for several days. Where have you drifted to? The uncle smiled. He drifted to Walrus Island. Thank you all for your help these days. I'll invite you to the old Captain Bar for a drink tomorrow. Ha ha ha, Joseph, you said this. Don't bring money with you then? A few people started joking. Amidst the inquiring and playing, the two finally returned home. Push open the wooden door. The young man who was repairing the fishing net saw his father and cousin at the door. The young man looked with surprise. Brother, it's great that you are okay, father. The two brothers hugged each other and patted each other on the back. Noah secretly vowed to protect his uncle's family in the future to repay their kindness. In the evening, after washing, at the dining table, Noah, his uncle Joseph, and his cousin Joshua were eating and talking about their experiences in the past few days. He did not hide the fact that he ate the devil fruit. After all, it was difficult to hide this kind of thing from his family, and if it was concealed, it would easily cause unnecessary misunderstandings. Brother, what is a devil fruit? It's the kind of secret treasure from the sea that can give you superpowers after eating it. Joseph's face turned serious. Noah, don't tell others about your devil fruit. Joshua, you can't tell anyone else either. Remember? Although Joshua didn't quite understand, when he saw his father's serious expression, he nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. I know, father, and I will definitely not tell anyone else. Uncle, I will keep it a secret too. You don't have to worry too much. Noah knew that his uncle was worried that he would be jealous or targeted. End of Chapter 4. May 22nd, 1501 in the Hyuan calendar. Starfish Island, deep in the orchard of Joseph's family. A week has passed since Noah was rescued. The location of my uncle's house is on the edge of the town, close to a mountainous forest. A dozen or so other houses are also 100 or 200 meters away. Especially the fruit trees in the back are surrounded by hills and are relatively hidden in the depths. Bong bong bong, waved his fist, hitting a large piece of wood like raindrops. With the crazy bombardment of the fist, the huge wood was smashed into the soil on the ground little by little. After a week of adjustments, Noah made a series of plans for training and developing card fruits. In terms of physical training, he developed a strict training plan for himself. Get up at 6 o'clock every morning, have breakfast, and push the boulder up and down the mountain for 10 kilometers, and you must complete it within 2 hours. At first, he did not aim too high, but chose a 30-kilogram stone as the load-bearing object. At 9 o'clock in the morning, the wood boxing began and the beating lasted until 11 o'clock in the morning. Eat and rest at 11 o'clock. From 12 noon to 2 p.m., he practiced calligraphy in the secret cabin in the orchard, adapted 5 volumes of dragon slang into the local language, and sang No Savior at the same time, constantly practicing on himself. Psychological suggestion. From 2 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, he covered his eyes and let Joshua beat him with a bamboo pole to stimulate the awakening of his domineering power. From 4 o'clock in the afternoon to 6 o'clock in the evening, he made some equipment in his cabin, reading, studying, and developing devil fruits from 6 to 10 p.m. in the evening. At the same time, in order to meet his own needs, he plans to go fishing every week and even prepares to hunt sea beasts. In terms of devil fruit abilities, in addition to updating the metal cards, we are also trying to expand the upper limit of the card space. Time flies like an arrow. Half a year later, from inside the small wooden house in the orchard, there was a burst of passionate singing. There has never been a savior, and don't rely on the immortal emperor. While singing, Noah wrote the adapted and localized version of 5 volumes of dragon slaying. Suddenly there was a sound of footsteps outside the house. He stopped writing and saw a young man pushing the door open. It was his cousin Joshua. However, compared to half a year ago, Joshua was much taller. His height reached about 1.8 meters, and his body became more muscular. Obvious. In the past 6 months, Noah has not been practicing hard at home, but has taken time to go fishing every week. With the ability of the card fruit, he has hunted many sea beasts. As the saying goes, if you are poor in culture and rich in martial arts, without sufficient meat supplements, blindly practicing hard will be counterproductive and may even lead to physical collapse. He sold some of the smaller sea beasts to subsidize his family and purchase supplies and materials, while the remaining larger sea beasts were stored in cards as the family's daily meat. Benefiting from this, Joshua also benefited. Of course, this is also inseparable from Noah's training and supervision. Brother, the newspaper you want. Taking the newspaper, Noah looked through several newspapers today. Whether it was the Rogtown Daily, the Donghai Times, or the World Economic News, Noah did not ignore it, but studied it carefully and excerpted some of its contents from time to time. For example, September 14, 1501, Rogtown Marine is recruiting new people, and the new Star Smoker is exceptionally recommended to Marine headquarters. Under what circumstances would a recruit who had just joined the Army be recommended to the Marine headquarters under unusual circumstances? Combining the memories of his previous life, Noah had already roughly guessed the answer. Another example is this news, October 22, 1501. The Flame Pirates were wiped out by Marine heroes in the waters of Konoba. Flame Man Base was defeated by the Iron Fist and fell into the water and was swallowed by sea beasts. Apparently, the Xiao fruit has entered a state of rebirth and wandering. Sometimes public information also has the value of being analyzed and refined. Noah has recorded more than 700 pages of such news and intelligence analysis. Now his understanding of the entire East China Sea has reached a very deep and detailed level. After reading the newspaper, he sealed the information he just extracted back into the secret card library. Joshua on the side picked up the first volume of 5 volumes of dragon slaying, sat on a wooden chair nearby, and looked through it carefully while asking curiously, "Brother, you are so smart. You can actually write such a great book?" "I'm just standing on the shoulders of giants. By the way, brother, I have completed the investigation you asked me to do." Noah continued to read the newspaper. "Tell me about it." "Our town has a total of 1,376 households with a population of 6,855. There are 273 orphans, 32 of whom have no other relatives to take care of them." "Not bad. Is there anything else?" "Yes, I also counted the ages of these orphans. There are 8 of them under 12 years old, 3 girls and 5 boys, respectively." Noah nodded with satisfaction. "Well done, Joshua. Now I'll give you a new task. Tomorrow you invite these 8 orphans to come to my place for barbecue. Remember not to attract other people's attention. Leave it to me." Joshua nodded. Noah continued to browse the newspaper. He is too lonely in this world. Although he has family ties, Noah hopes to have friends who speak the same language. However, the reality in the pirate world is that there are too many ignorant people. Since there is no one who speaks the same language, he should cultivate it himself. One day he will have like-minded friends and partners. Starting to recruit orphans now is Noah's initial attempt. The next day, it was dawn. Joshua slipped out, and more than an hour later he was followed by 8 children. A group of people came to the orchard cabin behind the house. Noah had already set up an iron frame with more than a dozen stakes on it. When he saw the somewhat reserved people, he smiled and said, "Welcome to my house. Let's get to know each other while grilling meat." After saying that, he handed several small brushes to the 3 girls. "My name is Noah, Carnegie Noah. I am 13 years old. Please help me brush the barbecue sauce." "Hello, brother Noah. I am Lilith. I am 11 years old this year." The girl who spoke has long light blonde hair and a little bit of Madara on her face. Her face is a little red, and the hand that took the brush is rough and pale. Noah knew that the other party often washed clothes for the fishermen in the town in order to make a living. Another girl hiding behind Lilith also had long pale blonde hair and a face that was somewhat similar to Lilith. She seemed to be very shy and whispered back to him, My name is Lillian. I am 8 years old." The remaining girl was a little careless. She responded to Noah with a smile while applying barbecue sauce. "Hello, brother Noah. I am Mary, Green Mary. I am 9 years old this year." According to Noah's arrangement, Joshua also took 5 boys to move charcoal, chairs, and other tableware. He doesn't want these children to have the mentality of getting something for nothing, and he doesn't want them to feel that they are being given alms. Sure enough, as Joshua continued to arrange things, everyone's demeanor gradually changed from reserved to relaxed. End of chapter. Chapter 5. The barbecue continues. As everyone ate, they gradually became familiar with each other. Except for the 3 girls Lilith, sisters Lillian and Mary. Noah met 5 other boys. They were 12-year-old black-haired hedgehog Anthony, the son of a fisherman, whose parents died of pirates just like Noah's parents. Tamani, an 11-year-old brown-haired noodle boy, is the son of a painter. His father was killed while visiting relatives in the kingdom of Goa, and his mother died of depression last year. A 10-year-old black-haired, blue-eyed boy named Vic is the son of a farmer. His father was bitten to death by Lion Majesty, and his mother fell ill and died. A 10-year-old green-haired skinny boy named Alii. A 7-year-old green-haired little boy. Among them, R and Ajay are brothers. Their father abandoned his wife and son 3 years ago and went to sea to become a pirate. The year before last, his pirate group fought with other pirate groups and was eventually wiped out. His mother went to sea to become a pirate because of her husband and committed suicide out of shame. Therefore, the RH brothers hated their father and pirates very much. As for sisters Lilith and Lillian, their parents, like Noah's parents, also died in a pirate attack 3 years ago. Mary was found on the beach when she was a child. The grandmother who raised her died of illness last year. After eating half full, Noah finally came to see me. He smiled and asked, "Are you interested in coming over to help?" What? Mary, who was devouring her food, was a little confused. As you just saw, I need to eat more than 50 kilograms of meat in one meal, and Uncle Joseph needs to go to work. I am also very busy, so I need help in the kitchen and daily life. Are you interested in helping? Of course, I am here only food and accommodation are provided, no salary. Food and lodging included. I do. Mary was the first to raise her hand. She didn't want to live the same life without meals anymore. Lilith looked at her thin sister Lillian and nodded. Brother Noah, I can wash clothes and clean, and Lillian can cook. You are hired. Welcome to join. Noah nodded, then turned to the 5 boys and asked, "Are you interested in doing things with me, just taking care of the orchards and workshops, and you'll get free food as well?" Live. I do. The eldest Anthony agreed immediately. He didn't know what Noah wanted to do, but he just wanted a job now. We are willing to. Ariel pulled his younger brother Ajay to agree. The two of them had been criticized by the townspeople because of their fathers being a pirate, and their lives were very hard. Now there is a person who is willing to hire him. He accepted it without hesitation. As for the instant noodle head Tomini, because he still had some savings at home, he thought about it for a while, but he also felt that there was no problem in coming to the orchard and workshop to help, so he nodded. I can come over and help, but I don't have to stay here. It doesn't matter. Noah was not forced to live here in the orchard. Finally, there was the green-eyed Vic, who scratched his head in embarrassment. Brother Noah, I have a big appetite. Regarding Vic's situation, Noah had obviously noticed it just now. The other person had eaten at least 20 kilograms of meat just now, and there was still some unfinished business. Are you worried about me being poor? You don't have to worry about that. As long as you work hard for me, I will ensure that you are well fed. Real. Come on. Vic, I need your help. Noah reached out his hand sincerely. Vic suddenly burst into tears. Oh, brother Noah, I do. Joshua quickly opened his mouth to lighten the mood. Don't just talk. Keep eating. Come and drink. The juice glasses clinked together, and at this moment, their fates began to blend together. In this turbulent era of great pirates, they are like inconspicuous specks of dust, so inconspicuous and ordinary. No one knows where their future will go. Before I knew it, the day passed. And this day was also the time when Noah Manor was established. Noah made a series of personnel arrangements. Let Lilith be the housekeeper, Lillian the cook, Anthony the kitchen helper, and Mary the chore boy. Tomini is responsible for logistics and statistics, Vic and are responsible for orchard farming, and Ajay is a helper in the workshop. With the work arrangements completed, Noah used his evening time to train and teach everyone, mainly to make them understand the rules of the manor, especially the confidentiality regulations. He gave everyone repeated orders. After training and teaching for more than a month, Noah began to teach some thoughts and songs. For example, the song No Savior seems a little lacking in momentum when only Noah and Joshua sing it, but when 10 people sing together, the resonance and touch brought by the chorus makes people feel like they have been reborn. It also became a must-sing before dinner at the manor. February 28, 1502. Inside the small restaurant of the manor's wooden cabin, Lillian, who had a little baby fat, carried a large plate of grilled sausages over and shouted, "It's time to eat." After a while, everyone took their seats one after another. Joseph looked at the children with a smile, feeling a little relieved in his heart. Joshua, on the other hand, smiled and clapped his hands. Everyone, take your seats and get ready to sing. Soon everyone started singing No Savior. As Noah sang, he suddenly felt a sudden burst of power in his body, and a terrifying momentum centered on him and swept in all directions. Uncle Joseph and the other children looked shocked. The next moment, everyone fell unconscious and fell to the ground. Conqueror's domineering awakening? Noah's mood was very calm, and he did not lose his composure. He got up and patted his uncle's face. After a while, his uncle opened his eyes. Noah, what happened just now? Why is everyone unconscious? Uncle, please take care of Joshua and the others first, while I go outside to take a look. I will come back later to discuss the specific situation. Although Joseph was confused, he still nodded. Leave this to me. You go and do it first. Noah quickly ran to the nearest neighbor. Under the night, like an agile cheetah, he arrived at the door of the nearest neighbor's house in less than 2 minutes. He glanced through the window glass and found that the neighbor's family was unconscious, but there was nothing dangerous, so he left silently and ran to the next neighbor. After visiting 5 houses in a row, one of the stoves was on fire. He released a card and doused the flames with water. Continue to visit other neighbors. It wasn't until he was about 800 meters away from the cabin restaurant that he discovered that there was no unconscious person. He didn't come out to say hello, but left quickly in secret. Apparently this time his conquerors burst out, covering an area with a radius of about 800 meters. Back at the cabin in the manor, everyone woke up. Brother, what happened just now? Joshua asked with some fear. Noah waved his hands and reassured everyone. Don't worry, this should be the awakening of conquerors' domineering power. Then he took out a book from the card library, with the Great Route Situation Analysis Report written on the cover. This was an analysis report he compiled based on the World Economic News newspapers and other travel notes in the past few years. After reading the explanation and analysis of domineering, everyone suddenly realized end of. Chapter 6. After Noah successfully awakened Conqueror's Haki, considering the indiscriminate oppression of Conqueror's Haki in the early stage, he would go to the northwest corner of Starfish Island to practice Conqueror's Haki every day. The bay in the northwest corner of Starfish Island is about 17 kilometers away from the town. There is no need to worry about Conqueror's domineering influence on the residents of the town. And in the second month after awakening Conqueror's Haki, that is, in early April, Noah successfully awakened the Haki of wisdom and information while being constantly blindfolded and beaten. Time flies by. June 13th, 1502. In the Orchard Cabin restaurant of the manor, Noah has completed 1 year of training. At this time, his height has soared to 2.09 meters. The heights of other teenagers have also improved significantly with sufficient nutrition supply. Among them, Vic's height has increased most significantly. He has grown from 1.76 meters to 2.23 meters in half a year, and his appetite has reached the level of more than 80 kilograms per meal. The second most obvious one is Joshua, whose height has reached 1.94 meters. In this world, the more you eat, the greater your body's potential is. Seeing the tall Vic and Joshua devouring food at the dining table, Noah knew that the matter must be arranged as soon as possible. He wiped his mouth and ordered to everyone, I'm going out today. While I'm out, you will take turns to be on duty at the safe house and just follow the previous drills. Brother, be careful. Joshua was a little worried. Brother Noah, do you need me to prepare food? Lillian asked. Noah shook his head. Don't worry. I have enough food in my card for more than a month. You have to take care of yourselves. If you encounter danger, save your life first. Do you understand? Yes, Brother Noah. Everyone responded in unison. Noah turned his head and added, Joshua, please take me to tell my uncle that I will be back in 2 or 3 days at the earliest, or half a month at the earliest. Brother Noah, you must come back safely. Mary looked at him with concern. He nodded and immediately walked towards the back hill. Come to the northwest corner of the bay where you practiced before. Noah used his knowledge and domineering energy to condense into a line and scan the surrounding 5 kilometers. This is his talent for seeing and hearing. Super wide area. It can cover a radius of about 1 kilometer as soon as it wakes up. If condensed into a single direction, the ultimate sensing distance can reach about 5 kilometers. I scanned the surroundings and found nothing unusual. He took out a card and threw it to the side of the simple small dock he had built before. Liberation. Submarine. A small submarine made of steel appeared on the water. The submarine is 12 meters long and 3 meters in diameter. Unscrew the circular hatch of the submarine deck, and the space inside is not small. Although this thing is called a submarine, it is actually composed of an iron shell and 12 large and small watertight compartments. There are no other facilities inside. After closing the hatch, he stuffed 2 cards into 2 special card slots. Liberation. Water injection. A large amount of fresh water was injected into the 2 sealed watertight cabins at the front and rear. Due to the increase in the amount of internal water, the air pressure inside the watertight cabin increased rapidly, and the one-way vent valve began to discharge air to the outside. In less than 10 minutes, The submarine sank into the sea and did not stabilize until the depth was maintained at about 50 meters underwater. Noah inserted 2 cards again. Continuous Liberation, Water Shock Wave. After a year of development, the upper limit of the volume of his card space has reached about 1,000 cubic meters, which is a cube space with a length, width, and height of 10 meters. The 2 cards store 2,000 cubic meters of seawater, which is being continuously exported to the 2 pipelines. By exporting seawater, the reaction force generated pushes the submarine forward. This is the power of devil fruit, which allows a submarine that originally required a complex structure and a large amount of equipment to be simplified to only a shell. The air supply in the cockpit where he is located also relies on the air stored in the card space and does not require any complicated oxygen candle at all. Open the periscope. Observe the surrounding situation carefully. Coupled with his knowledge, he can basically avoid underwater rocks and large sea beasts. If there are large sea beasts that cannot be avoided, he can also use Conqueror's Haki to deter the sea beasts. This is also the confidence that gave him the courage to drive a submarine out to sea alone after gaining Conqueror's domineering power. If Conqueror's Haki is not activated, he will most likely use other methods to go to sea. After all, as an ability user, it is difficult to fight sea beasts on the seabed. The submarine cruised all the way, advancing rapidly towards Pole Star Island where Rog Town is located, at a speed of more than 10 kilometers per hour. After more than 10 hours of sailing, finally arrived at the sea area near Rog Town. At this time, Noah did not use the Haki of Knowledge to test Rog Town. Because there is a marine base above, especially after the Great Pirate Age began, Rog Town has always been Marine's key defensive area in the East China Sea. There may be Grandmasters domineering marine officers stationed here. Direct probing through knowledge and S*X may arouse Marine's attention. He controlled the submarine to dock on a deserted coast. After landing, he sealed the submarine back into the card. After landing, Noah had changed his appearance, wearing a mask, a hat, a black cloak, and a coat, and sprayed orange and sea salt scented perfume on his body to cover up his original body odor. A cabin was released on the spot, and he began to rest. Early the next morning, Noah just put away the cabin and came to Rog Town. Soon he arrived at his destination, number 38 Carl Street, Port District, Rog Town. The signboard at the door reads, World Economic News, Donghai Branch. That's right, this is one of the World Economic News branches owned by Big News Morgans, and it was established in Rog Town. In fact, this is just a nominal branch and can be abandoned at any time. Even if it is blocked by the world government, it will not affect the publication of the World Economic Society's newspapers. He pushed open the door directly, and the bell at the door rang. Inside the counter, a middle-aged man with an ordinary face glanced at Noah, and then asked with a smile, Sir, what can I do for you? Noah didn't speak, but took out a piece of paper and handed it over. The middle-aged man took it and opened the note. All I saw on the paper was, there is a big news and I need to interview President Morgans. Please arrange a phone call. Noah continued to take out a stack of Baileys, and there was also a piece of paper stuck on it, which read 1 million Baileys for labor. The middle-aged man's eyes flickered for a moment, then he put away the 1 million Baileys and said in a low voice, I need to communicate with the president. Please wait for me for 10 minutes. If there is no labor fee of 1 million Baileys, then the middle-aged man will most likely not help. After all, the other party will definitely not take risks for this. If Noah does not have big news that the president is interested in, then he may be punished. 10 minutes later, the middle-aged man came out of the wooden door behind the counter. The president agreed, but you only have 10 minutes. Okay, arrange the phone bugs. Please follow me. Noah followed the other party into a basement. You can read more daily new novels on fictionzone.net. Both sites share the same login details, so you don't need to sign up again. End of chapter. Chapter 7. The two entered the airtight basement. The middle-aged man took out an anti-eavesdropping phone bug and dialed a number. After a while, the phone bug turned into the shape of a bird-headed hat. After dialing the phone, the middle-aged man quietly left the basement. Tell me, what's the big news? Noah looked at Morgan's phone bug image and said straight to the point. It's information about the Golden Lion. Is President Morgans interested? Oh. Morgans, who was on the opposite side of the phone, had countless thoughts flashing through his mind, and then asked with a smile, What payment do you need? Happy. I need the training methods of armed color hockey and marine 6 styles. As a sign of sincerity, I will first tell you one of the pieces of information. After the Golden Lion escaped from prison, he often moved over the windless belt between the Paradise and the East China Sea. The specific range is in activities over the waters surrounding the small island called Zayadongai. Seeing Noah finish speaking, Morgans laughed. Do you think this information is valuable to me? President Morgans, this is just proving the intelligence behind me. Ha ha ha, I understand. I have memorized the training methods of Marine 6th form. Morgan spoke for more than 10 minutes, going through all the training methods and key points of Marine 6th form. As for whether Noah can remember it, then it's none of his business. Inside Noah's cloak, the small tape recorder just purchased from Roguetown was working. Seeing Morgan stop, Noah continued. Second information, after Golden Lion escaped from Impel Down City, he encountered an island named Wilmio and used his ability to move the island away. If there is this with the permanent pointer of the island, you can find the specific location of the Golden Lion. Vilmio Island? Morgan seemed to smell the big news, and his face became a little excited. The training method of armed color domineering, key points, notes. After listening to the content of armed color hockey, Noah continued. The third piece of information is that the Golden Lion seemed to have discovered something on Wilmio Island, and took this as an opportunity to conduct some kind of biological experiment on it. When I passed by the waters near Shaodong Island, I encountered several mutated ones. The beast's combat power is similar to that of Colonel Marine. This is all the information I have this time. Morgan's eyes were a little uncertain. It wasn't that he thought the information was bad, but that the information was quite explosive, and he was a little afraid of the Golden Lion. However, as this is big news, Morgan's is an existence that even the world government dares to subvert, and he has decided to report this news. I am very satisfied with this information. If I want similar information next time, we can continue the transaction. What do you call me? Just call me Li Ming. I also want to continue to cooperate with President Morgans, but unfortunately, I need to go to West Blue soon. It doesn't matter, please remember my exclusive phone number, 555-3825-5089. As long as you call this number, you can contact me at any time, my friend. A pleasure to work with. A pleasure to work with. After Noah left the basement, the middle-aged man contacted Morgans again. President, do you want to send someone to follow him? No need. He is knowledgeable and your people can't follow him. Obviously, Morgans, as a veteran, guessed from the transaction content that Noah would meet Winsbaki, which made him give up the idea of sending someone to follow him. Other side. Noah changed his appearance several times in Roguetown and purchased some things in Roguetown. At midnight on the third day, he secretly drove the submarine back to Starfish Island. Regarding this transaction, he actually had an idea last year. However, he was not strong enough at the time and had no way to ensure that he could escape unscathed, so he postponed it until June this year. In Noah's view, as a time traveler with certain information advantages, if you want to obtain domineering and sick-style training methods in the early stage, Morgans is almost the most convenient and relatively safe channel. After all, Morgans is very obsessed with big news. As long as he can provide big news to the other party, he can basically use his information advantage to gain nothing. Among other channels, although Marine has a very high possibility of obtaining hockey and sick style, it still needs to go through qualifications. Marine branches in the 4 Seas rarely have comprehensive training in hockey and sick style, and they must go to the training camp of the main Marine Fando to learn. The time is too long and there are too many variables. If you are a pirate, you basically have no choice but to go to the New World for further training. As for Morgans, do you have any training methods for hockey and sick styles? The answer is of course 100% yes. As a big news with eyes all over the world, one of the famous underground kings, a thorn in the eyes of the world government, and a frequent visitor to Charlotte Lean's tea parties. If it were not for the domineering and sick-style cultivation method, it is estimated that Morgans would have been buried 3 meters high. More than 10 hours later, the sun set in the bay at the northwest corner of Starfish Island. On one side of the simple pier, the sea suddenly swelled and the submarine surfaced. Opening the hatch and standing on the deck, Noah looked at the waves under the setting sun, his eyes filled with sparkling golden color. Phew, I'm back. Putting away the submarine, he quickly ran towards the manor. Half an hour later, Lillian and Anthony, who were cooking dinner in the kitchen of the wooden house, suddenly heard the bell at the door ringing. They thought it was someone else coming back and did not come out. I'm back. Don't forget my share of dinner tonight. It wasn't until Noah's voice sounded in the kitchen that the two of them ran out in surprise. Brother Noah, you are back. Brother Noah, welcome home. Noah waved his hand. You continue to work. I'll go see other people. Soon it was dinner time, and other people in the manor also came to the restaurant one after another. When they saw Noah returning safely, they were extremely surprised and gathered around to greet him. He didn't explain too much, but he still introduced the training methods of armed color hockey and 6 styles to everyone, and told them to keep it confidential and not to practice in front of outsiders or use it easily. As for the training method of seeing and hearing color, since Noah has successfully practiced it on his own before, and after several months of summarizing, as long as they practice according to Noah's training plan for seeing and hearing color, sooner or later they will awaken to seeing and hearing color. The practice method of obtaining the 6 forms this time is a shot in the arm for Joshua and others who are laying the foundation. After all, although Noah had read books in his previous life and spent some time in the university's martial arts club, this knowledge was just empty talk and he was not a real martial artist. He also had little knowledge of how to exercise and practice martial arts. Now that he has the 6-style training method, he can also improve the previous training plan and eliminate the inappropriate part of the training method. Noah made an arrangement for the practice of the 6 postures. The first stage is definitely to practice iron blocks. Many people complain that iron blocks are not useful, but they actually misunderstand the importance of this physical skill. Among the 6 forms, the iron block is the core and foundation, and it is also a prerequisite for practicing arm domineering. As long as the iron block is strong, finger guns, shaves, legs, and moonwalk will all come naturally, because if the iron block is strong, it means that the body is strong enough. As for the paper painting among the 6 postures, this physical skill is actually a prerequisite skill for seeing, hearing, and color, and can be combined with the training of seeing, hearing, and color end of. Chapter 8. The next day, Noah, who was trying out 6 moves at the training ground, suddenly heard a burst of footsteps. Lilith came over with a bamboo basket. "Brother Noah, this is today's newspaper." "Excuse me, please put it aside. Uncle Joseph said he won't be back for lunch. He is sorting the shelves in the hardware store." Uncle Joseph's hardware store is another purpose of Noah's trip to Roger Town this time. He was not worried about his uncle going fishing alone, and his uncle didn't have much to do in the manor, so Noah purchased a large number of hardware and small machine tools in Roger Town, plus a large amount of iron and copper materials, and gave them to his uncle. Opened a hardware store near the town's pier. As for whether the hardware store makes money, that's not the point. The main thing is to find something for my uncle to do. Of course, the hardware store was also open to cover up the workshops inside the manor and make it more reasonable to purchase raw materials such as iron and copper from outside. Despite world government's laissez-faire attitude towards pirates, in fact, world government has very deep control over the global economy, and there must be a department within the CP organization that tracks sensitive materials. What are sensitive materials? Steel and copper materials must be among them. In the previous year, Noah purchased more than 50 tons of steel from abroad by selling sea beasts, mainly for manufacturing submarines and ship accessories and secretly forging weapons. If the purchase continues, sooner or later, it will attract the attention of the CP organization. Therefore, he must establish a reasonable name for imported steel materials. A part-time job at a hardware store for ship maintenance is a reasonable name. At the same time, Noah once again reminded everyone in the manor to be more vigilant and unified. If they were questioned or tested by someone, they would say that steel was used to make farm tools, hardware, kitchen utensils, and ship accessories. In order to avoid problems, he also sealed some of the more sensitive equipment and finished products in the workshop in cards, and then unsealed them if needed. At present, he and his partners are still in the stage of accumulating strength, and it is not appropriate not to attract the attention of other forces at this time. After exercising for more than an hour, Noah stopped to rest. Picking up the newspaper on the table, the headline on the front page of the World Economic News is, "Shocked. The Pirate Admiral's Beast Army." Apparently Morgans has confirmed the location of the Golden Lion in the past few days and secretly sneaked into Vermio Island to investigate. It's really big news. For the sake of news, even the Golden Lion dares to offend. He also had to admire Morgan's persistence and lack of fear of death. But none of this has much to do with Noah. Even if the Golden Lion knows that someone has betrayed information in Rogue Town, there is no way to know who it is. After all, this place is in the East China Sea. It is a city with prosperous commerce and a mixture of fish and dragons, not some closed island. This is also the reason why I did not choose to talk to Morgans on Starfish Island, because Starfish Island is relatively closed and it is easy for people to detect Noah's existence. Other side, the Grand Line, Paradise, Marine Headquarters, Marin Vando. In the General Staff Office, Lieutenant General He, who had just returned to his headquarters from North Blue, had not yet taken a breath when Lieutenant Colonel Kong Ming, the head of the intelligence section, knocked on the door and came in. "Advisor He, there is an urgent piece of information here." He took the folder, opened it, and his pupils suddenly shrank. "Golden Lion? I didn't expect this guy to be hidden in the windless zone. Kong Ming, do we have a permanent pointer reserved for Vermio Island? Kong Ming immediately Kaido. Yes, I have just asked the logistics department. There are 3 permanent pointers of Wilmio Island in the pointer reserve room, which can be retrieved at any time. Transfer immediately. I will explain the situation to the Fleet Admiral. Yes. A few minutes later, he hurried to the Fleet Admiral office, knocked on the door, and pushed the door straight in. Cyborg Kong raised his head and glanced at he. Is there anything urgent? It's about the Golden Lion. Morgan's reported some information about the Golden Lion. We need to take action, and I guess the call over there is coming soon. The words just fell. The black phone on Sora's desk rang. This phone was the 5 Elders dedicated line, and Sora immediately connected it. Bulu. Lord 5 Elders, I am Sora. You already know about the Golden Lion, right? Yes, I just received the report. Let Porcellino go out and destroy Vermio Island directly, and at the same time test the Golden Lion's physical condition. I see. 5 Elders immediately hung up the phone. Kong looked at he. He knew that he had anticipated the reaction of the 5 Elders, so he ordered, I'll leave this matter to you. No problem. Crane nodded. Soon, a golden light burst towards the East China Sea from the port of Marine Fando. Porcellino, holding the permanent pointer, appeared over the windlass belt on the East China seaside in less than half an hour. Porcellino, who was using moonwalk to stay in the air, looked a little solemn. Because there is only one island floating in the air nearby, and the island seems to have been gnawed by dogs, with potholes everywhere. Did you transfer in advance? It's really troublesome. Suddenly, Porcellino's expression changed. His body turned into a ray of light and moved to the left. The next second, a huge amount of seawater fell from the sky. Porcellino, who was moving quickly, stopped again and raised his hands. 8-foot Magatama, dense light bombs exploded to the side and front. In an instant, more than a dozen chop waves and light bullets collided together. Boom, boom, boom. Little monkey, you're quite capable. The Golden Lion dropped from the sky, biting his cigar and looking at Porcellino with cold eyes. Korawaina. It's so nerve-wracking. As soon as he finished speaking, Porcellino activated light transfer again, and the Golden Lion also controlled the seawater and turned into a dozen water lions. The two sides began to fight fiercely. A slash that tears the sky apart. Bomb blast of light bombs. More than half an hour later, seeing Porcellino stalling for time, the Golden Lion casually smashed the abandoned island of Vermio toward Porcellino, and at the same time retreated quickly in the opposite direction. Facing the island coming at him, Porcellino could only dodge continuously. By the time he avoided the island, the Golden Lion had disappeared without a trace. Although there was no real biological experimental base to destroy the Golden Lion, this confrontation still allowed him to figure out part of the situation of the Golden Lion. The domineering strength of the Golden Lion has declined too, obviously. If he were the Golden Lion at his peak, given 10 courages to Porcellino, he would not dare to fight alone for half an hour. After a while, the island hit the windless sea surface, and dozens of large Poseidon species emerged from the sea. Porcellino patted his collar helplessly, took out the phone hanging from his wrist, and reported the battle situation to Crane. Crane seemed to have anticipated the outcome of this mission and directly asked Porcellino to return to his headquarters. This action is essentially a temptation and warning. She knew that the Golden Lion was difficult to deal with. If the opponent wanted to escape, it would be difficult to suppress the Golden Lion unless Marines sent out 3 general-level combat forces to encircle and suppress him. End of Chapter 9. Although the big news of the Golden Lion has attracted a lot of attention, the battle in the Windless Zone, except for Morgans who has been secretly monitoring it, and the other forces on both sides of the battle, do not know what happened there. However, Morgans is expected to conduct follow-up reports. But Marine obviously doesn't have much energy to keep paying attention to the Golden Lion, because the battle for maritime emperor hegemony over the New World has begun. The first established emperor of the sea was Whitebeard, who wanted to acquire sons. And as Whitebeard became the emperor of the sea, the remaining big pirates in New World were also ready to move, and began to expand their sphere of influence overtly or covertly, causing New World to become increasingly turbulent. Especially Kaido and Charlotte Linlin, the power of these two people is expanding rapidly. Among them, Kaido solved the internal hidden dangers of Wano this year, and after killing Kazuki Oden, he began to attack frequently. And Charlotte Linlin used tea parties to control many underground forces through both soft and hard tactics. There is also the Achiku pirates entrenched on Beehive Island. In addition, After the beginning of the Great Pirate Age, the first batch of new generation pirates who entered the Grand Line from all over the world, after 3 or 4 years of rough seas, also broke into the New World one after another, further exacerbating the chaos of the New World. Marine's base and sphere of influence in the New World, facing the tide of the times, had to shrink its power in the New World and concentrate on defending key areas. As for the East China Sea, which is the most peaceful and stable among the 4 seas, it seems calm. On Starfish Island, Noah and his family are still going about their business as before. However, with the popularity of armed hockey and Sick-style training methods, the strength of family members has also increased by leaps and bounds. Early September of 1502. After more than 3 months of hard training, Noah finally inspired the armed domineering energy, but the strength could only cover one fist, and the duration was less than 20 minutes. Since his physical strength is relatively high, he can now use iron blocks and finger guns. As for Conquerors, not only is the pressure stronger, the limit of its coverage range has also been expanded to about 1,200 meters, and the power can be initially controlled, but the direction control is still inconsistent. In terms of seeing, hearing, and color, the limit of the perception range has also been expanded. The omnidirectional perception limit is about 1.5 kilometers in radius, and the unidirectional perception limit is about 7.5 kilometers. Among the members, Joshua and Mary successfully awakened their sense of perception. Vic initially became an iron block, and the others had no obvious results yet. Noah, who was in the study, put down the training progress report and fell into deep thought. From the training progress reports of his cousin and others, he saw an expected result, that is, there are obvious differences in talents between individuals. Joshua and Mary have the talent of seeing and hearing, Vic has the talent of hardcore physical skills and weaponry, Anthony has the talent of swordsmanship, Ale has the talent of shooting, and the others have no obvious talent. Noah was not surprised at all by this result. But things like talent are sometimes not static. For example, devil fruit can improve physical potential to a certain extent. It seems it's time to start planning the next step. The next day, it was dawn. The bay in the northwest corner of Starfish Island, on the side of the Simple Pier. Over the past 3 months, he and Ajay have been renovating and upgrading the submarine. The current submarine is 18 meters in length and 4.5 meters in diameter. An underwater entry and exit hatch is added at the bottom to facilitate entry and exit of the submarine underwater while wearing a diving suit. On the dock, Noah and Vic entered the submarine. Soon the submarine dived to the bottom of the sea and began to explore the seabed near the Starfish Islands. The exploration route he chose was not random, but the trade route from the Starfish Islands to Rog Town was chosen as the target of this exploration. After all, busy trade routes only have enough sunken ships on the seabed. And in the waters near desert islands, no ship has been seen passing by for several years. Where can the sunken ships on the seabed come from? After sailing for more than an hour, Noah looked at the Starfish route map, which marked a reef here. He also purchased this navigation information in Rog Town. For this relatively mature route, the hydrological information is usually relatively detailed. Sure enough, through perception, he discovered that there were more than 20 underwater reefs nearby, and then slowed down the water spray volume of the propulsion chamber, causing the submarine to slow down. After a while, the first sunken ship on the seabed appeared in the perception of sight, hearing, color, and color. There is a sunken ship below Vic. You can go down and explore it later. Yes, brother Noah. Leave it to me. Be careful. Noah then activated Conqueror's Haki, expelling all marine life within 1 kilometer around him. The submarine was about 10 meters away from the sunken ship on the seabed. Soon Vic, wearing a diving suit, swam down from the entry and exit compartment at the bottom of the submarine, dragging a breathing hose and an emergency safety rope. Turning on the waterproof searchlight, through the glass window of the helmet, Vic saw the wooden boat overturned in the mud on the seabed. He didn't hesitate, holding a searchlight in one hand and an iron grenade in the other, and pried open the wooden hatch of the sunken ship. An hour later, Vic crushed a wooden card tied to the diving suit on his left arm. Noah in the submarine cockpit instantly sensed that the card was damaged and began to shake the rope drum to pull Vic back from the bottom of the sea. After more than 20 minutes, Vic walked out of the diving cabin dragging a fishing net bag. Brother, this is what you get. Noah looked at the contents of the bag, which included a dozen gold and silver vessels, hundreds of gold and silver coins, and several gemstones, worth about 300,000 belly. It's okay. You can eat something and take a rest. Okay. Vic opened the temporary locker nearby, took a box of milk and a large piece of dried meat, and sat down to eat. And Noah casually sealed the gold and silver jewelry in the secret card treasure room. The submarine continued to dive towards the next sunken ship on the seabed. Before we knew it, it was the new year of 1503. Since September last year, Noah has taken Vic on an undersea treasure hunt for a week on a nearby route every month. 4 consecutive undersea treasure hunts brought more than 80 million belly worth of gold and silver jewelry to Noah Manor. They also picked up a good sharp knife and 2 permanent pointers to the Great Route. The bottom of the pirate world is the real secret treasure. After all, the number of sunken ships on the seabed accumulated over thousands of years and several eras is simply an astronomical number. Compared with the intrigues and turmoil on land, the bottom of the sea is the focus that many travelers should pay attention to. You must know that more than 80% of the area of this blue planet is ocean. In addition, most of the forces do not have the strength to explore the seabed. The capable world government does not look down on it, and the fish people can only huddle in the Dragon Palace Kingdom. Nearby sea areas. Most of the seabed in the 4 seas is in an undeveloped state. End of chapter. Chapter 10. After 4 undersea treasure hunts, Noah and others have roughly searched the seabed with a depth of more than 200 meters on the route from Starfish Islands to Rog Town. Just after the new year, after Noah tested the strength of Joshua and others, he took Vic out to sea without stopping. This time, his destination was the route between Rog Town and Mount Levis. This route is dozens of times busier than Starfish Island to Rog Town, and it is also the only way for pirates from the East China Sea to enter the Grand Route, which results in a very dense number of shipwrecks on the seafloor in this area. 2 days later, except for a 6-hour rest on the shore of a desert island midway, they spent the rest of the time on the road. Soon the submarine arrived at the scheduled route, which was southwest of the port of Rog Town. This direction was the route from Rog Town to the Levi's Mountain Canal. Noah quickly discovered a location where there might be a large number of sunken ships through his knowledge. A reef area with a depth of about 100 meters. Sure enough, as soon as he entered the area, he sensed the outlines of numerous sunken ships on the seabed with his powerful knowledge. Vic, who was already familiar with the road, immediately swam down with his tools after Noah frightened the surrounding sea beasts. Under the searchlight, the wreckage that came into view was very tragic, with the hull covered with large and small cracks. Vic saw a series of skulls carved on one of the wooden boards and knew that it was most likely a pirate ship. Pushing open the tattered cabin door, a skeleton lay quietly on the wooden board with a corroded axe in his hand. Judging from the layout of the cabin, this was probably the captain's cabin. Picking up the ring on the skull's finger, he then opened the drawer inside the cabin and found a pile of rotten bags of vellay, as well as more than 20 pieces of gold and silverware and a dozen gems. Putting the things into the bag, Vic lifted the iron pole and pierced the wooden planks inside the cabin to test for possible hidden compartments or the like. After 20 pricks, these rotten wooden boards were broken into big holes. Suddenly, Vic's eyes stopped at where the skeleton lay. Under the searchlight, there was a faint reflection of golden light in the gaps between the boards under the skeleton. After pulling open the skeleton and prying open the wooden board underneath, there was indeed a hidden compartment with several wooden boxes inside. One of the boxes had cracked, revealing the gold and silver jewelry inside. Vic couldn't help but feel excited. It seems like the harvest this time is good. Open several boxes one by one. 2 of them contain gold and silver jewelry, and 1 contains a rotten vellay. Inside the last box was a large pile of miscellaneous items, including rotten books, a record pointer, a dagger inlaid with a large sapphire, and a small box. Vic opened the small box and his eyes suddenly froze. Inside the small box, a black fruit in the shape of a melon was stored. The fruit was densely covered with arabesque patterns. It's actually a devil fruit? That's great. Vic put away the devil fruit, searched the remaining cabin again, and returned to the submarine with the harvested treasure and devil fruit. Half an hour later, Vic comes out of the dive cabin. Brother, what do you think this is? Noah saw the black fruit in his hand, and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. I didn't expect it to be a devil fruit, and another devil fruit that I have never seen before. In fact, Noah was not surprised by the appearance of devil fruits that he had never seen in his previous life, because a lot of information about the pirate world was closely related to the protagonist group. But outside of the protagonist group, there must be other devil fruits that have not been depicted. Noah picked up the devil fruit and said, Vic, let me find a way to confirm the specific situation of this devil fruit. If it is more suitable for your ability, I will give it to you. But Vic shook his head. Brother, give this fruit to Lilith and the others. I don't want to become a landlubber. And I think you can become a strong person by practicing the 6 styles and armed color hockey. I will try to find a few more devil fruits. Whether you eat them or not, you will have your share. Thank you, brother. Vic was moved. Noah patted him on the shoulder and then told Vic to seize the time to rest, while he controlled the submarine and headed to the southeast more than 80 kilometers away from Rog Town. More than 4 hours later, the submarine arrived in the bay of a desert island. Putting away the submarine, he took Vic to the desert island. Deep in the jungle of the desert island, Noah changed his appearance again and asked Vic to hide on the coast and observe the nearby sea. Taking out the phone bug, he dialed Morgan's phone number directly. Booloo booloo. After a while, the phone bug turned into a bird-headed hat. President Morgan's, long time no see. Hee hee hee. Isn't this Mr. Ming Ming? Is there any big news to trade? Noah did not hesitate and went straight to the point of gate of opening. 2 pieces of information. I need the most complete illustrated book of devil fruits and a piece of navigation information about the Great Line Paradise. You can place the illustrated book and information at the branch in Rog Town. I will go and get it in a week. Devil fruit illustrated book? Paradise navigation information? Okay, I wonder if your big news is worth the price. Noah said calmly. One is the scandal of the world government, and the other is Kaido's intelligence. Oh. There was a hint of surprise in Morgan's eyes. Your Excellency Ming Ming is really powerful. He even knows the information about the world government and Kaido of the beasts? If it is this kind of information, then there is nothing wrong with this transaction. Question. Refreshing. As before, I will tell you a piece of information that is easy to confirm first, and I will give the remaining information to you after receiving it. Camp. In Fervans, a white town in the North Blue, a mineral called lead has been mined for nearly 100 years. However, local residents do not know that the dust produced during the mining process of lead is harmful to the body. The world government has caused huge harm, covering up the truth for the sake of profit, and changed the lead disease caused by heavy metal poisoning into an unknown infectious disease, and secretly planned to provoke the countries surrounding Fervans and prepare to completely destroy this country. Gulu. Even Morgans, who had seen strong winds and waves, was shocked by this information. He knew very well that if this news report was published, the world government would definitely go crazy. But as it was big news, Morgans was unwilling to keep the information cold, which put him in a dilemma. After a while, Morgans finally calmed down and said with a smile, Isn't Mr. Ming Ming a member of the Revolutionary Army? No. There was no hesitation in Noah's voice. Morgans looked at him deeply. I'll pick it up in Rog Town in 7 days. See you next time. Have a nice day and see you soon. After hanging up the phone, Noah sealed the phone bug and took Vic to continue treasure hunting on the route near Rog Town. End of Chapter 11. January 12, 1503. It has been 4 days since I last spoke to Morgans. Noah and Vic continue their treasure hunt under the sea. In the past 4 days, the two of them have successively touched 17 sunken ships on the seabed and harvested more than 60 million worth of gold, silver, and jewelry, as well as some random sundries. For example, recording pointers, swords, parchment treasure maps, telescopes, tables made of atom wood, stone tablets carved with unknown characters, a few barely readable logbooks, etc. As the submarine got closer to the Levi's Hill Canal, more ships were sunk. Of course, due to the depth problem, Noah has no way to deal with the underwater shipwreck with a water depth of more than 200 meters. After all, the maximum diving depth of this submarine is about 100 meters. The remaining 100 meters of depth are still covered by Vic. Wear a diving suit to carry it on so you can explore in depth. Unknowingly, we came to a relatively shallow sea area again. Suddenly, Noah sensed the wreckage of a huge ship, but the depth was about 220 meters. Noah and Vic discussed it and decided to test it out. Soon Vic was swimming down in his wetsuit. Vic didn't realize how huge the wreck was until he saw its surface. Huh, why does this logo look familiar? A lion head and 3 swords? After reminiscing for a few minutes, Vic finally remembered that this was the symbol of the Triss Kingdom to the north of the Pole Star Islands. Continuing deeper into the wreckage, many cabins inside were stacked with a large number of boxes, filled with gold, silver, and jewelry. Even though he often saw treasures, Vic was shocked by the amount of treasures in front of him. After relaxing for a moment, Vic continued to explore. After all the boxes and cabins were searched, he returned to the submarine with 2 small boxes in his arms. Noah looked at the 2 more devil fruits in front of him and what Vic said, and soon found a very consistent piece of information among the information he had collected about the East China Sea. In 1422, that is 81 years ago, the Kingdom of Triss lost a treasure ship carrying gold from the sky due to a sudden storm near the town of Rog. As for why the Kingdom of Triss didn't send anyone to salvage it, The reason was naturally that there was nothing they could do. This kind of ship that sank due to a storm is basically impossible to recover. On the one hand, the sea area is too vast, which is like looking for a needle in a haystack. On the other hand, even if the sinking location is determined, salvage requires technology and professional equipment. The sea area near Rogtown is close to the windless zone, and small Poseidon species often appear. Without strong protection, once a Poseidon species is encountered during the salvage process, it will basically be the end of the entire army. Noah, for example, has encountered 2 small Poseidon species that are tens of meters in size these days. If he hadn't had conquerors, a normal ability user would have ended up feeding fish when encountering Poseidon species at the bottom of the sea. The 2 of them worked on the sunken ship for 2 days before plundering all the treasures from the sunken ship. Noah estimated that the treasures were worth about 2 billion baileys. After all, the starting point for heavenly gold is 10 billion belly, or high-value gold and silver jewelry, devil fruits, precious minerals, specialty products, etc. With this treasure, Noah finally won't have to worry about money in the next few years. The 2 of them were no longer in the mood to continue treasure hunting, and the submarine sailed towards Rogtown. When Noah secretly landed in Rogtown, he rested for a night near Rogtown. He received a notice from Morgan's the next day. Still in that basement. After checking the Devil Fruit Encyclopedia and the Paradise's navigation information, Noah directly told Morgan's the information about Kaido. That is, Kaido completed the plan to steal the country in Wano last year, and tricked and killed Kazuki Oden's family. Morgan's naturally knows the identity of Kazuki Oden. If Wano country were not extremely closed, and Kaido deliberately blocked the news, even Morgan's would not understand the internal situation of Wano country. Obviously, after hearing the news, Morgan's understood that if the news was revealed, the Whitebeard pirates and the Beast pirates would definitely have a battle. After completing the transaction, both parties were very satisfied with their gains. After Noah turned off the phone bug, he used the card to seal the books weighing several hundred kilograms and quickly left the West Branch building. After changing his appearance several times, he took a submarine back to Starfish Island in the early morning of the next day. When he returned to Starfish Island, it was already evening. He immediately came to the orchard study, took out the 3 devil fruits and the devil fruit illustrated book, and began to identify the 3 devil fruits. The first devil fruit was the black melon type that was first discovered, and he quickly found the relevant information in the illustrated book. Paramecia, graphite fruit. The second devil fruit is in the shape of a red banana, with a structure similar to scales on the surface. Animal system, common species, fish fruit, carp form. The third devil fruit is in the shape of a white peach with some fluff on the surface. Animal system, common species, rin fruit, silverback gorilla form. Except for the funny carp fruit, the graphite fruit and the silverback gorilla fruit are both good. Judging from the brief introduction of the devil fruit illustrated book, the graphite fruit belongs to the direction of creation and does not embody superhuman bodies or superpowers. Dinner time. Noah took out 3 devil fruits and introduced the situation of these fruits to everyone. Brother, the power of this carp fruit is so bad. Joshua complained involuntarily. Don't eat this carp fruit. Are any of you interested in the remaining graphite fruit and silverback gorilla fruit? Everyone fell into deep thought. Vic was the first to speak. I won't eat it. Now I plan to focus on physical skills and domineering. If my strength stops improving in the future, I will consider eating devil fruits. I don't want it either. Neither of these 2 fruits are suitable for me. Lilith shook her head. Lillian and Mary also refused. After all, graphite and gorillas are really unattractive to girls. Brother Noah, can you give me this graphite fruit? Ajay asked, a little embarrassed. Noah smiled. As the boatman scheduled by the family, this graphite fruit is indeed more suitable for you. In that case, I will give it to you. Thank you, Brother Noah. Ajay excitedly picked up the graphite fruit and took a big bite. The next moment, Ajay's expression suddenly changed, and he even began to look ferocious, but he still suppressed his nausea and ate the devil fruit 1 bite at a time. Eat all the devil fruits. This is Noah's special instructions. Although you can gain abilities by taking 1 bite, there is still a difference between eating it whole. This difference does not lie in the completeness of abilities, but in the enhancement of courage and willpower. Things like devil fruit are somewhat idealistic, and domineering is also closely related to willpower. The consciousness of a person who dares to eat the whole devil fruit and the person who takes a bite are different. End of chapter. Chapter 12. Watching Ajay eat the devil fruit. Everyone looked at the remaining silverback gorilla fruit. Anthony shook his head. I want to be a swordsman. This animal type is a waste for me. Tamani, The instant noodle head also waved his hand. I plan to inherit my father's profession. The animal department is really not elegant. Brother, you know me. As a sniper, there is no need for me to waste this animal fruit. Alii didn't want to eat this fruit either. Suddenly, Uncle Joseph, who had been silent, picked up the fruit, smiled and said to everyone, "Uncle, I am old. Just let me eat this fruit." Noah looked at his uncle who had some complicated and caring eyes. It was obvious that his uncle had realized that the future might be very dangerous, and he didn't want to become Noah and Joshua's weakness. In fact, Joseph has also exercised, but at the age of 33, he has long missed the best training stage. In more than a year, his strength has only increased 4 to 5 times. In the past 6 months, the effect of exercise has become more and more effective. Bad. It has been improved 4 or 5 times, and it seems to have been greatly enhanced. But if compared with Noah, Joshua, and Vic, the gap is too obvious. After about a year and a half of training, in terms of strength, Noah increased 83 times, Joshua increased 21 times, and Vic increased 49 times. Even as a girl, Mary's strength has increased by about 8 times. Uncle Joseph silently kept these things in mind, and when he saw this silverback gorilla fruit today, he was tempted. Noah nodded. "Uncle, we are all one family. Just eat this fruit." Click. Even though he already knew that devil fruit was unpalatable, after taking one bite, Joseph still felt the disgusting taste, which was really unbearable. However, when he thought about the possible dangers in the future, he became worried and ate the remaining pulp with his eyes closed. Until the last bite was swallowed, Uncle Joseph had an expression on his face that said, "This world is not worth it." Lilith quickly picked up a glass of grape juice and poured it into Uncle Joseph's mouth. After drinking a glass of grape juice, Uncle Joseph seemed to be resurrected. The taste is really disgusting, but the power is indeed very strong. As soon as he finished speaking, Uncle Joseph's body suddenly swelled. His height soared to more than 3 meters, and the muscles all over his body expanded as if they were inflated. Click. Suddenly, his clothes burst open. Fortunately, his pants were relatively strong and had a certain amount of elasticity, so they didn't burst completely. Ha ha ha. Uncle Joseph scratched his head in embarrassment and then tried to return to human form. After returning to his human form, he immediately applied oil to the soles of his feet and hurried back to change clothes. Noah smiled, turned his head and ordered, "Lilith, you go buy a batch of large size and highly elastic clothes tomorrow." "Hee, I understand." Lilith nodded. Early the next morning. Today's newspaper is about the causes and consequences of the White Town Free fans. After Noah read it, his expression did not change at all. Even if he exposes the White Town years in advance, the fate of that place will not change much. As long as the biggest evil, world government, still exists, the future of free fans is doomed. But he didn't expect that Morgans would dare to report this matter. He then thought that after the transaction ended the day before yesterday, the West Branch in Rogtown was empty that night. Apparently Morgans had anticipated what would happen next. Noah is temporarily not qualified to participate in all these disturbances. Using the information advantage of the past life to obtain the first pot of gold is the best choice for time travelers. But there are not many good things like this kind of empty-handed wolf. Putting down the newspaper, Noah inspired the soul of the cards. Suddenly 2 fierce flames spurted out from under his feet. This fire-breathing card is a thruster that uses hydrogen and oxygen stored in the card space, and then releases them in a quantitative manner, plus an electric spark igniter modified from the shoe sole. As for where do hydrogen and oxygen come from? The answer is to use wind turbines to electrolyze water. The electricity on Haishing Island relies on wind turbines and batteries. Over the past year, Noah Manor has purchased more than a dozen sets of wind turbines and battery packs. In addition to electricity for daily use, the remaining electricity is used for electric furnace chain steel, electroplating, and electrolytic water. As the flames erupted, Noah soared into the air, swinging his body to adjust his flight direction. After a while, they arrived above the training ground in the northwest corner of the bay. This training ground was specially opened when he was practicing Conqueror's hockey. At this time in the venue, Ajay was trying out the power of the graphite fruit. He landed in the middle of the field, and Ajay had stopped. "Brother Noah, do you want to use the training ground?" Noah shook his head. "No, I came over to see how your fruit is developing." Regarding the development of graphite fruit, Noah already had preliminary ideas and plans last night. "Ajay, try turning your shoes into graphite." "Shoes turn into graphite." "Let me try." Ajay concentrated his energy, and in an instant, The shoes under his feet turned into black graphite. Disable ability. Ajay was confused, but still released his ability. Noah continued, don't transform the shoe, but create a layer of graphite on the bottom of the shoe. Okay, brother Noah, it's done. Take a few steps and take a look. As soon as Ajay lifted his foot, he fell backward involuntarily. He was startled and tried to twist his waist to stabilize his body. However, as soon as his other foot stepped on the stone slab on the ground, it immediately slipped and he fell hard on the ground. Land. Instead of using brute force, think of your shoes as skates and slide them quickly across the ground. Under Noah's guidance, Ajay, who fell more than a dozen times, was finally able to stably use graphite skates to slide on the stone field. Ha ha ha, brother, I succeeded. Noah smiled and shook his head. Don't be too happy too early. You can only slide on the slate or cement floor now. If you encounter mud or swamp, this trick will be useless. He continued to explain. The principle of graphite skates is to take advantage of the lubrication properties of graphite. You can continue to develop further based on this property. Brother, you are so powerful. You even know this. That's why I usually ask you to read more. Sometimes knowledge is power. Ajay clenched his fists with admiration. Knowledge is power? I want to write this sentence down. I am truly worthy of being a big brother. Okay, next, let's try the other properties of graphite. Noah asked Ajay to create some graphite shields, and then use fire-type cards to attack. Sure enough, the effect was as he expected. Ordinary flame attacks have little effect on graphite shields. Even the fire-breathing card that combines hydrogen and oxygen can only burn through a 1 centimeter thick graphite shield at close range. The reason lies in the characteristics of graphite. In normal air environment, the ignition point of graphite is between 850 and 1000 degrees Celsius. In addition, its thermal conductivity is very good. It is difficult for ordinary flames to ignite graphite. Especially for graphite shields with a thickness of more than 1 centimeter, it is difficult for flames to burn through them in an instant, which gives those with graphite fruit abilities time to adapt to changes. In addition, graphite is an excellent conductor. In battle, if you encounter an opponent who can use electrical abilities, you can use the principle of grounding wires to guide current into the ground. Of course, as Paramecia's creation type ability, the graphite fruit also has general skills for creation type abilities, which are material shaping and creation puppet. For example, the biscuit fruit is vividly reflected, and the large number of biscuit soldiers are typical manifestations of this type of ability. After giving these development ideas to Ajay, Noah finally reminded him seriously. Ajay, what do you think is the root of a person with fruit abilities? Ajay fell into thought. You have to remember a crucial core. The body is the foundation of everything. As long as the body is strong enough, it will be easier to develop abilities, and it will also be easier to awaken domineering power. Now that you have become a capable person, I still sincerely hope that you will not relax your physical training. Do you understand? Ajay was thoughtful, then nodded. I remember, brother Noah. After giving these instructions, Noah left the training ground. In fact, he had another idea for the development of graphite fruit that he didn't mention, but considering Ajay's ability development and physical strength at this time, he gave up the idea of continuing to cram it. After all, he bit off more than he could chew. And the other side, Noah didn't worry too much about the situation with Uncle Joseph. Because there are two core points in the development of ordinary animal devil fruits. One is to continuously exercise the body, and the second is to forge an iron will. As long as these 2 points are completed, the animal devil fruit will enter the awakening state. These 2 points are indispensable. If you only exercise your body, once you develop the fruit awakening state, you will end up like the jailerman in Impel Down. If you only cast iron will, and your physical strength is not up to standard, the fruit will not awaken. End of chapter. Chapter 13. The moon and stars are sparse. The cold January wind blew gently. Noah was playing with a stack of cards in the study room of the wooden house. These cards were not created by abilities, but tarot cards he bought in Rog Town. A major arcana deck. A minor arcana deck. In the world of pirates, the most famous person for playing tarot cards was the later magician Hawkins. To a certain extent, there is actually not much correlation between Hawkins' scarecrow fruit and his ability to use tarot cards for divination. On the contrary, Noah's card fruit is the natal devil fruit in the field of tarot cards. Previously, he had been focusing on developing the space storage feature of card fruits. This is because the space storage feature is a blessing for ability users in the early stages, allowing them to quickly obtain various auxiliary cards and combat cards. Now, Noah has passed the early high-risk stage, and with the awakening of three-color domineering, it is time to open another feature branch of the card. Devil fruits are essentially the crystallization of the spiritual wishes of hundreds of millions of creatures in the pirate world. If tarot cards did not exist in this world, it would be very difficult for Noah to develop relevant abilities, and he would get twice the result with half the effort. In particular, card fruits, which are semi-regular and semi-fantasy fruits, need real things and the fantasies of hundreds of millions of humans as the root of their abilities. If it is a graphite fruit, since graphite itself is a substance that exists in nature, the root of its development ability is the physical and chemical properties of graphite. This is also the fundamental reason why there are huge differences between ordinary species, ancient species, and fantasy beast species in the animal system. Because the fantasy beast species not only has the root of the creature itself, but also has the special root of hundreds of millions of human fantasies, which is equivalent to a dual core. At this time, Noah concentrated his energy and concentrated his knowledge and domineering energy on the tarot cards in his hand. Seeing, hearing, and color has the basic ability to predict the future, which can be used as a primer to stimulate the divination ability of tarot cards. Under the dual effects of the card fruit and the domineering power of knowledge and color, Noah soon noticed that the tarot cards in his hand were changing. His physical and mental strength were being consumed crazily. 5 minutes later, the tarot card completed its transformation, and golden flame cloud patterns appeared on the back. The shape was very similar to the awakening mode of the animal devil fruit. Just let me give it a try. How will it work? First, take out a blank card and write the location of the slippery fruit in the blank space with a pen. Then he turned off his own hockey and threw up the major arcana deck in his hand. The cards spread out like a goddess scattering flowers, and 22 cards fell slowly. The closest tarot card to a divination card is the Fool. Fool? No, nothing? Noah fell into thinking. After a while, he took up a pen and modified the content on the divination card, changing it to, is the slippery fruit in the East China Sea? Throwing the major arcana deck again. This time the card closest to the divination card is World. The World? Is the end? Take out the auxiliary little arcana deck and throw it out as well. After some testing, he has determined the approximate location of the slippery fruit, which is on a desert island near Shields Town. After completing this divination, the golden flame cloud pattern on the card became dim. This made Noah understand that using tarot cards for divination requires consuming the power stored in the tarot cards. There is no problem with physical strength, but there is no way to quickly recover from the consumption of mental power. He estimated that the mental power poured into the tarot cards this time was equivalent to using the color of knowledge at high intensity for about 5 hours. And through tarot card divination, he could vaguely feel the restrictions and some taboos. For example, the more important the divination matters and items become, or the more powerful the target of divination is, the more mental energy will be consumed. If the divination content exceeds the tolerance, there is no way to perform correct divination. Another example is the vague general direction suggestion divination, which can be used without restriction every day, just like Hawkins divination. Once specific things, creatures, locations, etc. are involved, a large amount of mental energy stored in the card will be consumed, and success may not be possible. If Noah divines the location of the Nika fruit now, there is no way for the tarot cards to successfully divine the location, because this is beyond Noah's ability to bear at this time. And his knowledge and experience have reminded him that it is best to wait a month between infusing tarot cards with spiritual power, otherwise it may have serious side effects. Sure enough, the act of spying on fate is often accompanied by huge risks. Possessing the card fruit, the natal fruit in the field of divination, allowed Noah to obtain accurate results at a very small cost. If it is Hawkins' kind of divination, it is difficult to lock in specific things, and can only do general direction suggestion divination. Now Noah can use specific divination once a month. As long as he doesn't divination those creatures that are too much stronger than himself, or god-level devil fruits, the success rate will be very high. The approximate location of the slippery fruit has now been determined. According to the East China Sea chart he collected, there are 16 desert islands near Shields Town. As long as he searches them one by one, he will definitely find the slippery fruit. Noah took out his forbidden book. This book is a secret that he compiled and recorded the information about the pirate world and his past life memories. While he was reminiscing, he copied down the possible devil fruits that existed in the East China Sea. Exclude the smoking fruits that have been eaten by smoker, the barrier fruits that have not yet regenerated, and the slippery fruits whose location has been determined. The devil fruits that may still exist in the East China Sea are burning fruit, sickle fruit, whispering fruit, sonic fruit, steel fruit, and paste fruit. According to the newspapers and reward orders he collected, the above fruits did not appear among the pirates active in the East China Sea in recent years. On the contrary, the iron fruit is among the members of a pirate group in the New World. Apparently, the iron fruit's current host has not yet received his lunch. Among the pirate groups that have been active in the East China Sea in the past few years, there are currently 3 alive and able users, namely, the Golden Hook Pirates, Captain Buck, possesses the animal-type porcupine fruit ability. Jack Pirates, Captain Jack, Paramecia bag fruit user. Blood Knife Pirates, Vice Captain Gu Luo, a user with the animal parrot fruit ability. Noah collected this information in order to hunt down these pirate groups. The reason why these pirates are hunted down is, on the one hand, to train Joshua and the others. Only by experiencing fighting can their potential be further stimulated. On the other hand, it is for experimentation. Noah wants to study how to recover devil fruits and needs these pirates as experimental subjects. End of Chapter 14. The next period of time, Noah did not continue to hunt for treasures on the bottom of the sea. Instead, he secretly went to Rog Town many times and purchased a large amount of steel, shipbuilding equipment, shipbuilding materials, and some navigation instruments. Then he exercised during the day and built a secret dock in the northwest corner of the bay at night. The location where this secret shipyard was established used to be a hillside next to the coast. Noah, Vic, and others worked together to hollow out the inside of the hillside and excavated a cavity with a height of 50 meters and an area of nearly 30,000 square meters. In the cliff near the coast, a tunnel was dug out that could pass ships. The exit gate was framed with steel and covered with a layer of rock. In order to build this secret dock, Noah and others spent a month and a half. As a reserve boatman, Ajay followed Noah every night and personally built the family's second boat. Uncle Joseph, Joshua, Anthony, and others will also come to help carry materials and parts. Although Noah is not a professional naval architect, the boat he built this time is not a wooden sailboat in the traditional sense, but a submarine made of steel. Compared to fancy sailboats, Noah still feels that submarines are more suitable for his family. After all, the first submarine was quite simple and crude, but for the second submarine, Noah planned to design it carefully. Its design length is 56 meters, its displacement is 400 tons, and it can accommodate 20 people of ordinary size inside. Hybrid power, water jet propulsion, human pedal propeller, electric propeller, battery system, internal air exchange system, can use the air stored in the car to supplement, electric lighting system, independent washing cabin, submarine diving cabin, temporary food storage room, rest cabin, cockpit, and all-round periscope. In order to increase the internal movement space, Noah improved the buoyancy control method. Previously, he used water injection and drainage to change the buoyancy. This time he used cards to add or remove iron blocks to change the buoyancy. After all, the density of iron is about 7 times that of water, which means that after the previous water tank is changed to an iron tank, the volume can be reduced to 1/7 of its original size. This improvement has more than doubled the activity space inside the submarine. Obviously, this submarine is a special version of Noah and cannot be used by others. This is an inevitable choice for Noah, who does not have much professional shipbuilding skills. Of course, for safety reasons, the first submarine did not have emergency escape equipment arranged before, but it was arranged this time. For example, he specially customized a batch of high-end diving suits, 30 sets of diving suits, from a diving equipment company in Rog Town, which cost him more than 40 million vellay. In the face of life safety, tens of millions of Baileys are nothing. In addition, he also ordered a batch of high-strength alloy steel to enhance the skeleton strength of the submarine. In order to build this submarine, a total of nearly 500 million Baileys was spent, not counting their labor costs. Until September 1503, this submarine has just completed sea trials. September 11th. In the secret dock, all members of the family gathered together and looked at the steel submarine in front of them. They felt honored to be able to participate in the construction of this submarine. Noah pulled off the red cloth attached to one side. The submarine's name is painted on it, the Nautilus. Family, let us board the ship and head to the sea. Soon everyone was aboard the Nautilus, including Uncle Joseph, who was also pulled on board by Noah. As for the Noah family's property on the island, the hardware store hired 2 clerks, the manor and orchard were temporarily sealed, and the hardware workshop and some wind turbine equipment were taken away by Noah with cards. The same goes for the equipment in the secret dock, all of which were taken away by Noah using cards. After leaving Starfish Island this time, the family does not know when they will return. If the secret dock is discovered during their departure, the equipment may be destroyed or occupied. Noah didn't want to see his home being robbed when he came back. The Nautilus passed through the underwater hole, left the secret dock, and began to enter the vast ocean. As soon as they entered the sea, Noah ordered Joshua and Mary to take turns using the sensing color to sense the surrounding situation and exercise their domineering power. Joshua's intelligence talent is similar to Noah's. It also favors ultra-wide areas and can cover an area with a radius of about 1 kilometer in all directions. Mary's talent for seeing, hearing, and coloring is biased toward emotional coloring. She can sense other people's emotional states, with a range of only more than 100 meters. Everyone in the cabin performs their duties. Uncle Joseph served as the lookout and was in charge of the periscope, and Tomini served as a substitute. Joshua and Mary, as security officers, took turns using the color of knowledge to explore the surrounding situation. Vic and Anthony acted as motorists, taking turns riding their bicycles and driving the propeller. Lilith is the navigator, Lillian is the cook, R is the logistics worker, and Ajay is the boatman. Full speed toward Shields Town. Lilith looked at the navigation chart and quickly planned the route with her pin. The area where Shields Town is located in the northeast of the East China Sea. The town is part of the Clover Kingdom and is on the main island of the Clover Islands. Along the way, you need to pass through Hobby Island, the island where Cocoa West Village is located, Moonlight Island, the island where West Rob Village is located, Organ Islands, the island where Orange Town is located, and finally Shields Town on the Clover Islands. Noah didn't have much interest in contacting the so-called protagonist group members along the way. Except for Nami's family, the other members of the protagonist group were destined to be different from the Noah family. Behind Wang Lufei is Lieutenant General Marine's grandfather, the leader of the Revolutionary Army's father, the red-haired Shanks of the Celestial Dragons who leads the way, the son of the eldest brother One Piece, and the second brother's chief of staff of the Revolutionary Army. Zoro is a descendant of the Shimatsuki family, and his master is Shimatsuki Koshiro, who is involved in Wano country and the Revolutionary Army. Usopp is the son of Jesus Boo, the sniper of the Red Hair Pirates. Sanji is a member of the Vinsmoke family. Who is Vinsmoke Kaji? A warmonger who destroys countries and cities. Nami and Luffy are not the same people at all. The kingdom of Oikit where she was born was destroyed by pirates last year. Her biological parents died at the hands of pirates, and later her adoptive mother Belmel also died of evil. The Dragon Pirates, myself, and my hometown were enslaved by the Dragon Pirates for more than 8 years. If Noah were Nami, he would never join the Straw Hat Pirates or other pirate forces under any circumstances. Not to mention that later, the Straw Hat Pirates also absorbed Jinbei as the helmsman, which simply rubbed salt on Nami's wounds. If it weren't for Luffy's kindness in defeating the Dragon Pirates, Nami would not have joined the Straw Hat Pirates. Moreover, the Straw Hat Pirates had not killed the dragon, rat, and others, leaving a huge gap for Koko Nishi Village. Hidden danger. If the 5 elders had any sense, the Straw Hat Pirates would have died 100 times. For example, if you send a CP to kidnap Nami's sister, Kaya, and others, and then set up a trap for the Straw Hat Pirates to fall into the trap, the Straw Hat Pirates will definitely take the bait. Therefore, Noah and his team did not contact the protagonist group. As for Nami, she is only 2 years old now and has not been oppressed by the Dragon Pirates. Her adoptive mother is still a retired Marine, so it is not suitable to contact her now. End of Chapter 15. A week later, the Nautilus arrived in the waters near the Organ Islands. Lilith, find a desert island to rest for a while. Lilith nodded. A week's continuous voyage on the bottom of the sea made everyone who had never been to the sea feel a little uncomfortable. After a while, Lilith found the nearest desert island on the chart. This island didn't even have an official name on the general chart, but was marked with Organ number 52. 3 hours later, the Nautilus surfaced in a bay suitable for landing. After everyone landed on the island, Noah casually sealed the Nautilus on the card. Now the length, width, and height of his card space were suddenly adjusted, and he could barely fit the Nautilus into it. Brother, it seems we are not the only ones on this island, Joshua reminded in a low voice with narrowed eyes. When Noah approached the island, he had already discovered the presence of someone on it, but he did not immediately remind others. Joshua, just keep an eye on it. No need to say anything else. Hearing this, Joshua immediately understood and suppressed the thought of reminding others. As soon as the group landed on the beach, they were like wild horses running wild and started shouting on the beach. Right now, bang! A lead bullet was fired at Uncle Joseph, who was stretching. The next moment, Joshua shaved his head and appeared in front of Uncle Joseph. Iron! Bang! The lead bullet hit Joshua in the chest, but did not penetrate the skin. As if facing a formidable enemy, Everyone panicked and picked up their weapons. In response, Noah shook his head. Obviously, he was not satisfied with everyone's reaction. Who shot? Get out of here. Vic rushed to the front, roaring towards the jungle on the shore. Bang, bang, bang. Vic responded with 3 bullets. Vic's body bulged, and the bullet felt like it hit steel. Bang, bang, bang. Ali pulled the trigger and fired continuously with the revolver in his hand, hitting the direction where the bullets had just been shot. Ajay also reacted and quickly created a graphite wall to surround several girls. Roar. Uncle Joseph roared angrily after a brief period of confusion and beat his chest. His body expanded to more than 3 meters tall, and he directly entered the state of full animal transformation. The next moment, Uncle Joseph stepped suddenly and jumped into the jungle. Joshua and Anthony followed closely behind and rushed into the jungle brandishing their long knives. After a while, a dwarf with a bruised nose and face was carried out by Uncle Joseph. This guy's lower body was also covered with a box. Noah recognized the other person immediately. Carmen, the treasure chest man. The guy cried bitterly and begged for mercy. But Noah didn't have the slightest sympathy. Even though the other party looked like a good guy more than 10 years later, judging from the behavior of the other party shooting and attacking Uncle Joseph just now, this guy definitely had the idea of killing people to silence him. Pirates are pirates. Take action and give him a knife each. R, who hated pirates, shot directly and broke one of Carmen's hands. Ah, you bastards. Mary gritted her teeth, picked up the western sword, and stabbed the opponent in the leg. Go to hell for letting you attack us. Villain. Others also took action one after another. Even Lillian and Lilith stabbed each other. Finally, Noah beheaded him with a single blow. After dealing with Cayman, Noah commented on everyone's performance just now. Your performance just now was very poor. Except for Joshua, who used the hockey of knowledge and information to discover the hidden enemy in advance. No one else noticed the danger, nor did they. Be prepared for possible dangers. Don't think that you can sit back and relax just because this is a desert island. There may be pirates, wild beasts, and unknown diseases on the desert island. If you take it lightly in the future, you will suffer big losses sooner or later. Everyone was a little downcast. Noah just waved his hand. Okay, just keep the lessons learned this time in your heart and don't make the same mistakes in the future. Now the troops are divided into 2 groups. Uncle Joseph will take Vic, Joshua, and Anthony to explore the island. I and others built the camp on the spot. No problem, let's go. Uncle Joseph quickly walked towards the island with Joshua, Anthony, and Vic. This time, they became very vigilant and even overreacted. They regarded those strange and rare beasts as their enemies several times, causing a lot of chaos in the forest. On Noah's side, he quickly cleared a large area of virgin forest as a temporary camp, and then released the wooden houses, daily necessities, and kitchen utensils stored in the carts. Lilith, Lillian, and Mary began to prepare food. Ajay and Tamani chopped a big pile of firewood. In a mountainous area deep in the forest, Uncle Joseph and his party found Carmen's residence. Is this guy alone? Anthony looked at the utensils and beds in the wooden house and was basically sure that there were only traces of Carmen's life here. He said there is a treasure here. What do you think? Uncle Joseph asked everyone with some uncertainty. Vic said carelessly, can't we just look for it nearby? That's true. Joshua nodded. With Carmen's wooden house as the center, everyone searched the surroundings carefully. Soon, Anthony found a dozen wooden boxes on a mountaintop platform. After opening the wooden box, the group of people looked at each other. Empty. It's indeed fake. It's also possible that someone got there first. Anthony was a little confused. It's strange, even if the treasure was taken away. Why are these boxes placed in this position? When Anthony reminded him, Joshua also reacted. Indeed, if the treasure is here, then this location is too obvious. If the treasure was not here before, why did the person who took the treasure move the box here? Is it unnecessary? Is there no place to hide things around? Vic looked around in confusion. Who says there isn't? It's right under our feet. Anthony squatted down, pulled out his dagger and inserted it into the ground. There is dirt down there. Do you want to dig it out? Everyone took their swords and began to dig into the soil. After digging for more than 1 meter, we encountered rocks. It looks like a stone. No, this stone has traces of artificial cutting. There may be something underneath. Continue. After a while, they finally cleared out a 4 to 5 square meter pothole and found a huge stone slab. Anthony inserted the knife into the gap between the stone slabs and found that it had penetrated more than 10 centimeters before encountering a barrier. This stone slab is a bit thick. You guys step back and let me come. Vic put on the alloy gloves and concentrated all his strength. Iron cannon fist. A fist hit the stone slab directly, and the stone slab immediately fell apart, revealing a dark hole. Vic, don't go down first, Anthony warned, and at the same time lit the windproof lighter close to the hole. Sure enough, when the lighter entered the hole, the flames dimmed. There is not enough oxygen inside, so there is no way to go down for the time being. Anthony thought for a moment. Vic, go to Brother Noah and get 2 sets of diving suits. Wetsuit? Okay. End of chapter. Chapter 16. Noah at the camp, after listening to Vic's explanation, realized that they had discovered a cave suspected of hiding treasure. From the equipment library, he took out 2 sets of diving suits, for oxygen bottles, and 2 portable searchlights, and told them to be careful. Vic, who returned to the platform on the top of the mountain, handed over the diving suit and oxygen bottle to Joshua and Anthony. The 2 put on the diving suits and entered the cave with searchlights and weapons. There are stone steps at the entrance to the cave. After walking down a dozen steps, we arrived at the bottom. Under the searchlight, what comes into view is a hall full of traces of excavation. Anthony suddenly saw some words carved on one of the walls, and he swept the dust on the surface with his dagger. The treasure is half a meter below my feet? Anthony, the treasure is at our feet? Be careful, something feels wrong. Anthony was a little worried. Joshua hesitated. What should we do? Dig? Or give up? We're all here. There's no reason not to dig, but we can't dig together. I'll dig first and you'll be on guard. Anthony gave up using the dagger, and instead pulled out a long knife and scraped away the covering soil bit by bit. Joshua on the side was also highly vigilant, always paying attention to the situation under the earth. Half an hour later, after only scraping about 30 centimeters, Anthony's long knife touched a hard object and scraped more than a dozen times. Under the searchlight, a shining golden reflection was revealed below. Is there really gold? He used a long knife to pick out a piece of gold. It was a gold necklace. He suddenly stopped and looked at the necklace carefully, suddenly breaking into a cold sweat. Because there are some thin needles wrapped around the necklace, it still glows with a faint light even after it has been buried underground for so long. Joshua, don't come too close. There may be poisonous needles in these treasures. Joshua cursed in a low voice. Which be asterisk 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 D hid this treasure? It's really insidious. The 2 took several wooden boxes from above and put the treasures into the boxes with wooden chopsticks. They worked for more than an hour before filling 12 wooden boxes. Returning to the platform at the top of the mountain, Anthony took off his helmet, looked at the 12 packed boxes, and said with a smile, although this guy who hid the treasure is extremely sinister, these treasures are worth at least 80 million Baileys if they are dealt with. Just as Vic was about to lift one of the boxes, a crack opened in the box. He was so frightened that he quickly threw the box out to avoid being pricked by the poisonous needles wrapped around the treasure. Snap! The box fell to pieces, and the gold, silver, and jewels inside were scattered out. Anthony was startled. Be careful, don't get close there. They had to take the remaining empty box and pick up the treasure scattered on the ground with chopsticks. They also asked Vic to split a lot of wood chips and add vines from the nearby forest to strengthen the treasure box to prevent it from being lost again. Broken during transportation. Suddenly Anthony looked at the box in front of him. What's wrong? Joshua saw him in a daze and asked curiously. No, there are 13 boxes here, but the treasure only fills 12 boxes. There should be another box of treasure below. Anthony suddenly remembered something. Damn, I almost got cheated again. What was cheated? Joshua was confused. Do you remember what was said on the wall? The treasure was half a meter below my feet. I only dug 30 centimeters before I found the treasure. Apparently, the real treasure is the last box hidden half a meter below. Joshua suddenly realized. So that's it. This guy is really insidious. The 2 put on their helmets again and went down into the cave again, becoming even more vigilant. After digging slowly for half an hour, I finally found what was hidden underneath. 2 small boxes, one of which is a long box and the other is a square box. Anthony and Joshua didn't dare to open it here. They were worried that the old man hiding the treasure might have some traps in it. Taking the box with them, the group returned to the temporary camp. After listening to Anthony and Joshua's descriptions, Noah realized the danger of this treasure. It was just one link after another. Anyone who was not vigilant would definitely be tricked to death. Noah first asked Ajay to pick out the gems, then use a graphite furnace to melt the gold, silver, and poisonous needles together, and finally separate the gold and silver. Ultra-high temperature can destroy most toxins. And he used tarot cards for divination. This box is not dangerous. He opened the box and found a devil fruit inside. Everyone was very surprised. I didn't expect it to be a devil fruit. I wonder what kind of fruit it is. You'll find out later if you look at the illustrated book. Noah performed a divination on the remaining box, and the result shocked him. 50% risk? With his strength, there is still a 50% risk. The contents of this box are indeed beyond his expectation. Ajay was asked to use graphite to create a room, and his knowledge was concentrated on the box. Then Ajay controlled the graphite puppet and opened the box. A knife? Suddenly an ominous aura spread from the knife. Demon sword? No wonder. If it is a demon sword, there is indeed a great risk. Especially the demon knife in front of me. A weak voice sounded in his heart. Pick it up. You will gain endless power. Endless power? Just you? It's just a knife. It's ridiculous. Noah's conquerors was like ignited flame, fiercely pouring into this demon knife. The next moment, he directly pulled out the sword, and the conqueror's domineering force forged with iron will suppress the demonic instinct in the demonic sword and made him tremble. Disappear. Conqueror's haki is like a millstone, completely shattering the demon sword's instinct. As the demon sword's instinct is destroyed, the conqueror's haki and armed haki poured into it by Noah are slowly absorbed by the sword. I don't want to know your previous name. From today on, you will be called Chishin. The others also woke up at this time. Anthony, in particular, had a look of fear on his face. He was glad that he had not opened the box in the cave before, because he had all kinds of thoughts in his mind just now. It was obvious that the knife was constantly tempting him. Noah put away his true heart, and then solemnly reminded, this sword is the legendary demon sword. If you don't have enough courage, you can easily be confused by it and eventually become a sword slave. You should be more careful when encountering things in the future. Brother Noah, what should you do if you are controlled by the demon sword? Ajay asked worriedly. As long as the demon sword is taken away or destroyed, the controlled person can return to normal. Noah said his solution. This was also the method used to break the curse of the 7-star sword later. The demon sword was destroyed directly, and any curse would turn into a rootless ping end of. Chapter 17. After solving the hidden danger of the demon knife, everyone looked at the devil fruit in the small box again. This fruit is green, shaped like an oleander fruit, densely covered with arabesque patterns, and has 2 leaves that resemble tentacles. Noah had already taken out the devil fruit illustrated book and turned directly to the animal section. 10 minutes later, he saw a devil fruit that matched the shape and characteristics. Animal department, bug fruit, monarch butterfly form. It's actually a butterfly? Anthony was disappointed. This was obviously not the fruit he wanted to eat. Tomini, and Vic also lost interest in this fruit. Mary, Lilith, and Lillian discussed quietly for a while, and finally Lilith spoke. Brother Noah, I want to eat this fruit. You want to eat? Okay, take it. In fact, Noah had already predicted the choice of the 3 women. As a chef, Lillian definitely wants to eat a fruit related to her career. As for Mary, her fruit is the slippery fruit. Lilith picked up the fruit, looking as if she was dead. Then she opened her little cherry mouth and took a hard bite of the fruit. She didn't dare to chew it, but swallowed it, and then ate the remaining pulp like a jujube. The moment she swallowed it, her skin began to emit lavender gas. No, it's poisonous. Noah quickly released an air card, squeezing out the surrounding air. Lilith also woke up from a dream and realized that she was emitting toxins. She quickly controlled her body, and soon she stopped releasing toxins. Uncle Joseph was a little surprised. This fruit is so poisonous. Just eating it will release the toxin involuntarily. Noah reminded. Lilith, please use the color of knowledge and see. Seeing color? Okay. Lilith calmed down and began to activate her own knowledge. Her knowledge had only been awakened for less than 4 months, and it was very ordinary, with no special skills. But this time, after being stimulated, she felt something different. Information about the surrounding environment seems to be at your fingertips. What's going on? Noah explained. This should be a general talent of insects. They are extremely sensitive to changes in the environment. When combined with sight, smell, and color, it will become a super environment perception and climate perception. Lilith suddenly realized that she tried to enter the half-animal form. As the 2 tentacles on her forehead emerged, her perception of the environment skyrocketed. Not only could she feel subtle changes in the environment, but the coverage of her sights and sounds also expanded rapidly, to dozens of kilometers. This is why Noah didn't object when he saw her choosing this devil fruit. As a navigator of the Noah family, although Lilith works very hard, her navigation talent is very average. This is another reason why Noah chose to use a submarine, because submarines can avoid most bad weather at sea and reduce the burden on navigators. Now Lilith, just like the artificial Nami, has gained the ability to sense weather through the combination of devil fruit and visibility. Of course, this fruit is actually very good in other aspects. Noah continued. You enter the full animal state again, and then try to camouflage the environment. This should be one of the universal talents of butterflies. Environmental camouflage? I'll give it a try. Lilith then entered a fully animal form. After trying for more than 10 minutes, the color of her body and clothes began to become exactly the same as her surroundings, and she disappeared from everyone's sight. However, people who meet and smell S**x can still sense its existence. Anthony commented, this ability only deceives those who don't know how to see and smell S**x. It is basically useless when meeting people who can know and smell S**x. Hehe, this is not bad. Lilith was actually quite satisfied with this fruit. In fact, the monarch butterfly is almost comparable to the top ancient species among ordinary animals, because its abilities are very comprehensive, including talents in 5 aspects: poison, perception, camouflage, endurance, and flight. The monarch butterfly's venom comes from various poisonous plants. By eating poisonous plants, the venom is stored in the body, which also means that the fruit has strong adaptability to toxins. Perception and camouflage have already been introduced, and flying is also a universal talent of butterflies. In terms of endurance, monarch butterflies are one of the few butterflies that have the habit of long-distance migration. In the pirate world, they will migrate back and forth between South Blue and the East China Sea, directly across the 2 windless belts and the Grand Route Paradise. The endurance is terrifying. To a certain extent, this monarch butterfly fruit is almost equivalent to half of a fantasy bee species. Sure enough, in the next strength test, Lilith's strength has increased by about 8 times compared to before eating the fruit. In addition, her strength is already more than 10 times that of ordinary people, and her strength suddenly becomes nearly 100 times stronger than ordinary people. Even Uncle Joseph, who ate the silverback gorilla fruit, was only more than 70 times as powerful as an ordinary person. It truly is an insect-type devil fruit. After resting for 2 days at Precious Beast Island, the Nautilus set sail again. This time, the Nautilus did not dive, but sailed on the sea, but the route it chose was relatively desolate to avoid encountering other ships along the way. Noah, Joshua, and Lilith all have a wide range of visibility and can easily spot nearby ships. The feeling of sailing on the sea is very different from sailing on the bottom of the sea. Fortunately, Lilith can sense subtle changes in the environment and can avoid many extreme weather surprises. After leaving Precious Beast Island, on the afternoon of the 3rd day, the Nautilus snorkeled past Orange Town in the Organ Islands. 11 days later, the Nautilus entered the Clover Islands. At this time, they were very close to Shields Town, and the distance between them was only about 122 kilometers. Brother Noah, we are approaching the first target desert island. Noah took a look at the chart of the Clover Islands. Although he felt that the possibility of slippery fruit on this desert island was relatively small, he still ordered a landing. Anthony, Vic, Joshua, let's go to the island, and the others stay on board. Clear. The desert island, numbered Clover 08. Vic took the lead, with Anthony behind him holding a long sword. Joshua and Noah are on the left and right in the back. The distance between the 4 of them is about 7 or 8 meters. This distance is convenient for taking care of each other without affecting the use of weapons and physical skills. This island is not big, with a radius of less than 5 kilometers. With the distance of 4 people, even if they search carefully, it only took more than 2 hours to reach the other side of the island. Just when Noah was about to divide his troops into 2 groups and search around the coast, his eyes suddenly narrowed slightly. End of Chapter 18. The other side of the island. Aboard the Nautilus, Lilith, who was sorting out the charts, suddenly frowned. The next moment, she concentrated on stimulating the knowledge and color, and expanded the coverage of the knowledge and color to the limit of 36 kilometers. A dilapidated sailboat was sailing towards this desert island. The distance between the 2 sides was less than 5 kilometers. Lilith immediately sounded the alarm. The remaining members of the ship gathered quickly. Lilith, what happened? Uncle Joseph asked, holding a big axe. There is a sailboat approaching this desert island. Everyone should be vigilant. I see. Lilith picked up the phone again and informed Noah about the incident. In less than 10 minutes, Noah and his team had returned to the Nautilus through the flame thruster and put the Nautilus back into the cart. Everyone was hiding in the jungle on the shore, waiting quietly for the sailboat to approach. Half an hour later, Noah had already seen the sailing ship and the pirate flag on it. This pirate flag pattern? It turns out to be the Blood Knife Pirates, but the condition of these guys is a bit miserable. According to Marine's reward order, this pirate group has 3 sailboats and a scale of about 200 people. Now there are only 48 people left. On the shore, as soon as the Blood Knife docked, a small wooden boat was immediately put down. 4 pirates rowed a small wooden boat and prepared to land on the beach. At the same time, a blue-haired man standing on the deck turned his hands into a pair of wings and flew to the beach on the coast. Vice Captain Gu Luo of Blood Knife. Noah and others did not stop these pirates from landing. About half an hour later, with the help of a bald pirate, Taro Tanaka, a bloody swordsman who had lost an arm, finally landed on the beach. Boss, please slow down. Parrot Guluo held a chair. Ahem, Lousy is not dead yet. Go and prepare food. Taro Tanaka looked gloomy, then gritted his teeth and cursed, Damn old ghost. You said that I have evil intentions and am not suitable to use that sword. Even Luing refused to teach me. I hate it. It's obviously you, the old ghost, who is jealous of my talent and worries that I will surpass Koshiro. You deliberately didn't teach me. Just wait for me. I will make you, the Shimatsuki clan, pay the price for this broken arm. Just when Taro Tanaka was complaining about everything, Noah has confirmed that there are no newsbirds around, there are no small creatures on these pirates, and there are no marine flame photographers nearby. The next moment, Noah inspired a dozen bomb cards buried on the beach. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, flames shot into the sky, and shrapnel from the explosion sputtered in all directions. Ah, help. And at the moment when the explosion occurred, Taro Tanaka and Gu Luo had a premonition of danger. Regardless of their wounds, one jumped into the sea and the other tumbled into the air. Guluo, the parrot man, was fluttering in midair. Before he could take a breath, his wings were pierced by a bullet. At the same time, a huge force suddenly hit his back, slamming him into the sea. Taro Tanaka, who had just emerged from the sea, looked up and saw a black shadow hitting the sea not far away. The next second, steel gloves wrapped with armed domineering energy appeared in front of him. Hateful. Draw the knife and raise your hand. Boxing. Collision. Sparks are flying, and the confrontation is domineering. Taro Tanaka's eyes widened. Nanny? Domineering? However, Vic didn't answer at all and hit Taro Tanaka with his flying fist. Bang, bang, bang. The glove and sword collided fiercely for 6 or 7 moves. Damn. If my right hand hadn't been cut off by that old ghost, how could I have? Boom. Taro Tanaka was hit hard on the back of the head. Click. Vic did not hesitate and crushed the remaining left hand bone of the opponent. Lilith's figure appeared behind and above Taro Tanaka, casually throwing the noose and dragging him into the air. Vic jumped into the sea to look for Gullo, the parrot man who was shot into the sea. On the beach at this time, Noah detonated a dozen bomb cards, and the rest was left to others. The bomb directly killed more than a dozen people, but the remaining 30 or so pirates were still alive and kicking. It was truly a world of pirates, with tanks and blood cows per capita. Tomini, Lillian, and Mary used rifles or pistols to shoot pirates in the jungle. Anthony and Joshua brandished their long knives and jointly beheaded a big and round pirate. Uncle Joseph turned into a half-animal form, with 2 big axes in his hands, one for each pirate. Ajay controlled a dozen graphite puppets and besieged the pirates who were trying to escape. In less than 10 minutes, more than 30 pirates were annihilated like melons and vegetables, leaving only 2 pirates who knelt down and begged for mercy. At the same time, Vic also fished out the dying parrot Guluo from the bottom of the sea, and the bloody sword Taro Tanaka who was tied up by Lilith. Less than 10 minutes after the battle began, the blood sword pirates were completely wiped out. This is still a situation where Noah didn't take action with all his strength. Do you really think his bomb card can only kill a dozen guys? His most powerful bomb card contains a ton of gunpowder and a large number of iron nails and steel balls. The moment it explodes, everything within a radius of 50 meters will be shattered into pieces. Not to mention there are poison gas cards, napalm cards, white phosphorus burning cards, etc. He has never used any of these cards. This battle is actually a training battle. It is used to train family members so that they can quickly adapt to the fighting atmosphere. Vic, Joshua, Move the bodies of these pirates together. Lilith and Anthony, you go over and search the pirate ship. Uncle, please provide some psychological counseling to others. Lilith mentioned Anthony, and the two flew to the pirate ship. At this time, the three pirates left behind on the pirate ship had already received their lunchboxes, and their faces were black and blue because the pirates on the pirate ship were Lilith's first target. She used the environment to camouflage herself and used a quick drama poison killed the three pirates. The two searched each cabin one by one. In order to avoid missing any hidden compartments, the two of them did not hesitate to use their swords to cut through all the cabins. More than an hour later, Lilith looked at the treasure of less than 3 million belly and the banknotes of more than 1 million belly and shook her head. Let's go. As the two left, Lilith casually placed Noah's burning card on the deck of the pirate ship. The two captured men had already given information about the blood sword pirates. This Taro Tanaka is one of the refugees from Wano country. His father is a follower of Shimatsuki Kozaburo, and he is a disciple of Kozaburo. A few days ago, he went back to Shimatsuki village and asked Kozaburo for a demon sword and the training method of Ryu Sakura. As a result, the two sides fought a battle, and Kozaburo chopped off one of his hands, and he also killed Koshiro's wife. It's a pity that this guy is of little value to Noah. Under the joint interrogation of Mary and Noah, Taro Tanaka handed over a set of Ishin Ryu swordsmanship and a set of vampire swordsmanship, and then gave the other party a good time. As for whether Taro Tanaka is playing tricks on the swordsmanship training method, the answer is that he did deliberately leave a lot of hidden dangers. Unfortunately, with Mary's ability to perceive emotions and Noah's divination cards, he can't hide anything at all, and finally had to explain everything. It's a pity that there is no advanced application skill of armed color, Louising. You can read more daily new novels on fictionzone.net. Both sites share the same login details, so you don't need to sign up again. End of chapter. Chapter 19. After draining the last bit of value from the blood knife pirates, Noah sealed the unconscious parrot man Guro in the card. Then he released a solidified oil-burning card towards the gathered pirate corpses. Then detonate the burning card attached to the pirate ship. Boom. Under the blazing flames that soared into the sky, the blood knife was blown to pieces and sank to the bottom of the sea amid the raging fire. The corpses were quickly burned with solidified oil. He is not one of those people who would be careless. In order to prevent his information from being leaked, he must crush these pirates to ashes, lest someone secretly leave any information on their body or fake their own death. After all, the devil fruits in the pirate world are all kinds of weird, and there may be types similar to the underworld fruit. After destroying the corpses and the pirate ship, Noah and his party re-explored the desert island, and sure enough, there was no trace of the slippery fruit on it. This is the uncertainty of divination. Even if he knew that the slippery fruit was in this sea area, he still couldn't pinpoint its specific location. That evening, considering that the blood knife pirates appeared here, Noah gave up his plan to spend the night here, drove the Nautilus to the bottom of the sea, and snorkeled to the next desert island. 5 days later, they have searched a total of 7 desert islands these days, but still found nothing. Today is October 13th, 1503. Noah took a look at Lilith's chart. There were 3 desert islands nearby, one of which had a name, Goat Island. Many people may be unfamiliar with this island, but if you mention Arita, it is estimated that everyone who has watched One Piece will know this name. And this Goat Island was the stronghold of Arita during her Fat Woman days, and it was also the place where she was defeated by Wang Lu-fei. Noah pulled out the tarot cards. He looked at the 4-leaf clover desert island number 11, which is the closest to Goat Island, and performed a divination card draw. This trip is going well, but the outcome is uncertain. Noah frowned. The Pope, the 9 of Wands. In other words, 2 popes will have opinionated debates and quarrels. Draw the card again. Pope, Knight of the Holy Grail, a false friend, a stranger and seducer, decisively grasping the fate of the present. Noah seemed to understand something, turned his head and ordered, Lilith, move at full speed to the 4-leaf clover desert island 11. Yes, brother Noah. The Nautilus quickly adjusted its direction and headed towards the desert island of Clover 11 at full speed. For hours later, a small island with a radius of less than 2 kilometers came into view. Everyone did not delay and quickly divided into groups to search the island. Soon, the team of Mary and Vic found the slippery fruit in a coconut grove near the beach. As soon as he found the slippery fruit, Noah immediately called everyone back. He did not stop at this island, but snorkeled to the next destination. Just about 6 hours after the Nautilus left, on the beach at sunset, a gust of wind blew up, and then a figure appeared on the beach. Looking at the footprints on the beach, A flash of thought flashed through his eyes under the hood of the green robe. The very new footprints were just formed today and left in a hurry. Could they be the blood sword pirates? After a while, the figure disappeared without a trace. The storm wind that is still rippling is left alone, rolling up the shimmering fine sand. After leaving the waters of Goat Island, the Nautilus was sailing towards Dawn Island. Dawn Island is the island where the envoy of Goa Kingdom is located. However, the Kingdom of Goa is not Noah's destination. His destination this time is the most beautiful island in the East China Sea, Cece's Island. Sixis Island is also known as the Hell Ant Nest. This island is very famous in the East China Sea because the ships that enter it never return. There are often rumors of treasures on nearby islands. Its location is approximately 436 kilometers southeast of Liming Island. Noah didn't know whether there were treasures on Synopsis Island, but there were definitely a lot of sunken ships on the seabed nearby. After all, the sea area around this island has a very special climate, which is somewhat similar to a windless zone. Coupled with the circular currents surrounding the entire island, unless it is equipped with a new type of ship such as steam power, there is no way for the old sailing ship to leave there. Noah had used specific divination once a month for the past few months. At present, it is basically confirmed that the Shashao fruit is on Cece's Island. 3 more devil fruits have also been identified, among which the sickle fruit has been eaten, the sonic fruit is in the Wiko Kingdom in Nami's hometown, and the paste fruit is in the Dominican Islands 733 kilometers north of the Organ Islands. The iron fruit and whispering fruit should not be reborn yet. In order to quickly enhance the power and potential of family members, devil fruit is a shortcut. In the kitchen of the Nautilus, Lillian cut the slippery fruit into pieces and handed them to Mary beside her. Mary opened her big mouth and quickly stuffed pieces of fruit pulp into her mouth. It tastes so bad, but when she thought of Noah's expectations, Mary suppressed her nausea and swallowed the remaining pulp. Quick, Lillian, give me apple juice. Lillian had already prepared a large bottle of apple juice. Mary took the bottle and poured it into her mouth. Gulu gulu. Phew, finally alive. Mary, your skin has become so smooth. Come and try your abilities. Lillian touched the other person's arm with some envy. Mary picked up the kitchen knife and slashed at herself. The next moment, the kitchen knife seemed to have encountered something and instantly slid aside, almost hitting the floor. Before eating the slippery fruit, Noah had told her the development direction of the slippery fruit in advance. The ability of this fruit is very powerful, and it is one of the few fruits that does not have to be afraid of sea rocks and seawater. The reason why Arita's performance is mediocre is naturally that the knowledge level of the ability user is not enough to deeply develop the slippery fruit. What is smoothness? That is, the particle structure on the surface of the substance is arranged very neatly, thus forming a surface tension that prevents other substances from adhering to it. In other words, once an Esper uses the ability of the slippery fruit, his or her body will form a surface tension force field film. Even if this force field film is very thin, it will create a barrier between the body and the outside world. It is the existence of this layer of barrier that prevents the sea floor stone particles from directly contacting the body of the Esper. As long as the user with the slippery fruit ability has enough endurance, even swimming in the sea can be achieved. In addition, the slippery fruit can also perform functions similar to those of the rubber fruit, such as accelerating the flow of blood in the body, thereby gaining instant explosive power. Finally, there is the conceptual expansion of the slippery fruit, which achieves functions similar to those of the meatball fruit, such as sliding away toxins, fatigue, pain, memory, and the like from the body. Although the slippery fruit's ability cannot be used outside the body before it is awakened, its uses are very wide if it only acts on oneself. Since she was inside the submarine, Mary could only try a little bit in her own cabin. End of Chapter 20. The wind is gentle and the sun is beautiful, and the sky is blue. A dark steel ship was entering Synopsis Island downstream. After passing through a circulation area with a width of more than 20 kilometers, the lush West Cassis Island is finally within easy reach. Except for a few small beaches, the other coasts are rock walls hundreds of meters high, and the rock walls are covered with dense caves. Except for some strange birds hovering in the air, there was nothing else around. The Nautilus chose to dock next to a relatively low rock wall. After everyone came out of the cabin, Noah sealed the Nautilus. Everyone will set up the camp first. I plan to rest here for a month and train everyone's abilities at the same time. Uncle Joseph nodded. It's okay. I have lived in the submarine for almost a month, and I miss life on land. Soon the group found a suitable location for setting up the camp. Noah released the stored wooden houses and living facilities one by one, and installed some exercise equipment. After lunch, everyone was divided into 3 groups. One group stayed to guard the camp, and the other 2 groups began a carpet search. After searching for more than 2 hours, they found the xiao fruit mixed with a lot of waste in a tidal cave on the shore. This fruit was given to Lillian, whose fire ability is more suitable for chefs. After finding the xiao fruit, everyone did not stop because there was a legend about a treasure on this island. Although they didn't know whether it was true or not, they decided to search the entire island carpet-wise. Since the caves inside West Cassis Island extend in all directions, everyone searched for 3 days in a row before completing the exploration of the entire island. The result was a treasure of approximately 200 million vellay. These treasures are most likely left by those who came here for exploration or those who lived here. After all, there are no large edible animals on West Cassis Island. The rock walls on the shore are the nests of strange birds, and the underground is the nests of black ants. The only plants are bitter banyan trees and poisonous sweet potatoes, and there are no obvious freshwater rivers. Ordinary people here can't survive even a week without food and fresh water, and they can't leave by sailboat. They basically have to wait for death here. Noah and others found a lot of diaries in the caves on the island. Many diaries recorded the despair of the trapped people and some tragic things. After plundering everything, everyone began to practice. Of course, Noah has not forgotten the sunken shipwrecks in the waters around West Cassis Island. Now that he has encountered them, he will naturally not miss them. This time he did not do it himself, but asked Vic to give up his diving suit, take only an oxygen bottle, and dive physically to the bottom of the sea to hunt for treasure. Areas that exceed a certain depth are left to Ajay to search. Ajay's underwater treasure hunting plan is very simple, that is, using a graphite puppet and connecting it with a special graphene wire. He controls the graphite puppet on the shore. Multiple composite graphene wires can currently support a length of more than 10 kilometers without breaking. This allows Ajay to control the graphite puppet from a long distance and conduct treasure hunting operations at the bottom of the deep sea. Over thousands of years, a large number of ships have sunk on the seabed around Cassis Island, forming a submarine shipwreck cemetery here. Although the scale of the shipwrecks here is not comparable to that in the waters of the Sabaody Islands, the underwater shipwrecks in the Sabaody Islands have been raided several times by fishmen. The underwater shipwrecks on West Cassis Island are in an undeveloped state. With the help of graphene wires, Ajay achieved an ability similar to the advent of consciousness. He possessed one of the graphite puppets and observed the situation on the seabed. The graphite puppet wore a special searchlight on its head and then destroyed the cabin of the sunken ship. Under the control of Ajay, a dozen puppets quickly searched a sunken ship. His target is very simple: gold and silver jewelry, swords, devil fruits, record pointers, or something special. On the 5th day, a devil fruit was found on the seabed on the northwest side of West Cassis Island. After Noah's identification, it was confirmed that it was in the form of an animal canine fruit red fox and was temporarily sealed. On the 12th day, a stone tablet covered with ancient writings was found deep in the trench on the south side of West Cassis Island. On the 15th day, another devil fruit was found. After identification, it was confirmed to be Paramecia's cave fruit. This fruit was eaten by Alii. This cave fruit has similar spatial capabilities to the door fruit, but in addition to opening wormholes, it can also be used for rapid digging. However, in order for the wormhole to achieve long-distance transmission, there must be a prerequisite, and that is to set up a space coordinate point in advance. Currently, Ali can only set up 5 coordinate points, and it will be unsustainable if there are more. In addition, the dongdong fruit does not have a different dimension like the door fruit, which has advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is that wormhole transmission takes place in an instant, and there is no need to rush through different spaces like the gate fruit. The disadvantage is that the safety of the coordinate points in the space needs to be ensured. There is no way like the gate fruit, where the ability user of the gate fruit can hide in a nearby alien space and secretly observe the situation in the normal world. The cave fruit is very important to the Noah family. This ability can ensure the safety of family members. Whether it is emergency retreat or emergency support, there is a lot of room for operation. After finding 2 devil fruits on the seabed of West Cassis Island, no more devil fruits were found on the seabed nearby. When the 1-month break is complete, what Vic and Ajay achieved on the seabed of West Cassis Island are treasures worth about 3.7 billion baileys, 2 devil fruits, a Miao Dao type long sword of the level of a large sword, and a sword of the level of a good sword. Alloy warhammer, 173 record hands, 24 permanent hands, 1 ancient stone tablet, 16 logbooks, 34 treasure maps, 532 kilograms of blue tungsten, containing a mixture of tungsten and another unknown rare metal, 22 kilograms of millennium keel, 3 pieces of atoms wood removed from the sunken ship. As for other steel, copper and ceramics, Ajay and Vic didn't have time to bring them back. In fact, this undersea treasure hunt did not find all the sunken ships in the sea area, because some of the sunken ships were too old and have been covered by seabed sediment and marine life. However, Noah was already satisfied, and since the planned time was up, he did not intend to continue to stay on West Cassis Island. He just asked R to leave a space coordinate on West Cassis Island. This island has a natural barrier, and the surface is a place where birds don't poop, making it very suitable for use as a secret base or shelter. If you encounter an enemy that is difficult to fight, you can also take people to escape here. The Nautilus continued to set sail, sailing due east. Its destination was Nami's hometown, the Kingdom of Wiko, and it needed to pass through 5 inhabited small island countries on the way end of. Chapter 21. Boom. A pirate ship was trying to rob a merchant ship when a violent explosion suddenly occurred at the bottom of the ship. The horrific explosion blew the pirate ship to pieces. The merchant ships that escaped the disaster quickly filled their sails and left. The Nautilus, hidden at the bottom of the sea, had no idea of surfacing and sailed directly into the distance silently, leaving no credit or fame. 5 hours later, Sugar Cane Town on Rum Island. Noah and his team made a disguise, pretending to be members of a trading company, and landed in Sugar Cane Town. The main reason why they came ashore was that they had not communicated with other people in the past few months and needed to relax. Sailing can sometimes be very boring, and psychological counseling must be provided regularly, otherwise mental illness is likely to occur. Inside a restaurant, several waiters served the dishes quickly, but there were not many dishes on the table. Uncle Joseph held a bottle of locally produced rum and tasted it carefully. Vic was performing a 3-mouth pig performance, while Lillian was thinking about how to recreate the restaurant's food. Noah leaned on the chair and silently observed the pedestrians on the street outside the window. This is a small island country that relies on the rum and cane sugar industries for survival. Especially with the advent of the Great Pirate Era, rum has become an essential consumable for sea navigation, making the place more and more prosperous. However, Noah found that many pedestrians passing by did not show wealth. Many people are skinny, with disheveled faces, and their clothes are full of patches. Noah stopped a waiter. A silver coin was placed on the waiter's hand, and the middle-aged waitress suddenly smiled. "Sir, how can I help you? I am a businessman from Goa Kingdom. I am new here, and I am not very familiar with Rum Island. Can you introduce it to me?" The waiter looked around and whispered, "Kaido, sir, doing business on our Rum Island requires the approval of Minister Powell. I heard that you have to pay a large sum of money to purchase rum and cane sugar here." Noah thought thoughtfully and continued to ask, "Are all those people outside locals?" The waiter glanced at the pedestrians pointed by Noah and whispered again, "Those people are all sinners. Because they broke the law and had no money to pay the atonement, they could only rely on the work arranged by the kingdom to atone. It seems that the laws in your country are very strict. Sir, please don't say this on the street. If the disciplinary knight hears it, you will be fined. Do you have any legal books on the Kingdom of Rum in your store?" Noah finished speaking and handed over another silver coin. The waiter nodded. "The boss has a copy. I can borrow it for you, but it cannot be taken away or damaged." "No problem." After a while, the waiter secretly handed him a thick book. At this moment, Anthony and Vic, wearing gold-rimmed glasses, pushed open the door and entered. Taking a sip of coffee, Anthony said in a low voice, "Boss, this is a local business investigation report." Noah took the booklet and read it 10 lines at a time. After reading it, he understood the situation of the Rum Kingdom. The numerous taxes and harsh punishments were simply trying to squeeze every last copper out of all the civilians. According to his understanding, the more than 170 participating countries of world government are divided into 3 levels, and the heavenly gold they need to pay every year is also divided into 3 levels. The first level is 50 billion belly per year. The second level is 30 billion belly per year. The third level is 10 billion belly per year. A small country like the Kingdom of Rum is usually a third-level franchise country and only needs to pay 10 billion belly, or the equivalent of treasures and secret treasures every year. The entire Kingdom of Rum has a population of 200,000, and each person needs to pay 50,000 belly per year. This amount is actually not too high. You must know that the Dragon Pirates are in Cocoa West Village, but the monthly life fee required is 100,000 belly for adults and 50,000 belly for children. The prosperity of Rum Kingdom is not comparable to that of Cocoa West Village. Judging from the investigation, the annual income of the entire Kingdom of Rum is no less than 100 billion belly, which is almost 10 times the gold in the sky. Why is it so exhausted? Noah was lost in thought. Puzzled, he pulled out the tarot cards. Soon the tarot cards gave divination predictions. The balance of falsehood, the sin of greed. Noah's vision directly affects the pedestrians on the street. Although these people are working, their expressions are very numb and painful. He called Mary over and gave some instructions in her ear. Mary went to the fruit shop opposite and bought some fruit as if nothing had happened. After returning to the restaurant, she looked a little unhappy. Boss, those people are in great pain inside. If they don't work, their whole family may starve to death. Are they all the same? Those so-called redeemers are all the same. Noah seems to have guessed something based on the prophecy of tarot card divination. After eating and drinking, everyone checked into a high-end hotel nearby. As night falls, 3 black shadows left Cane Sugar Town silently. There are 4 towns in the entire Rum Island, namely Cane Sugar Town in the south that is open to the outside world, Bamboo Cane Town on the small plain in the southeast, Mackerel Town on the northwest coast, and Rum City on the central plateau of the island. Rum City is the capital of the Rum Kingdom. Noah, Mary, and Lilith, who turned on the knowledge, avoided the patrolling soldiers inside the Rum Kingdom. In less than an hour, the 3 of them crossed more than 80 kilometers and arrived in the mountains and forests outside Rum City. Brother, the density of redeemers here is higher than that of Sugarcane Town. Mary, who has emotional perception, is very uncomfortable. This is also the fundamental reason why the Red Earl does not trust others. This type of knowledge can really drive people crazy. Fortunately, Mary has the care of her family and high-intensity exercise, so she can control her intelligence freely. If it is the Red Earl's innately awakened sense of knowledge, due to the information pollution from childhood to adulthood, coupled with the unfortunate experiences in childhood, then the result will be only loneliness and a twisted mind that can see through people's hearts. Let's pay a visit to Secretary Powell's residence. Lilith directly changes the subtle structure of the surface and quickly disappears into the environment. Mary slid the light away from her body and also entered the invisible state. Noah, on the other hand, used his sense of sight to predict the surrounding things and walked into Powell's mansion in a swagger. The pot-bellied Powell is currently engaged in human reproduction. Suddenly, the 5 people in the room felt their eyelids become heavy. Before Powell could call, they collapsed like dead pigs. Noah, wearing a gas mask, pushed open the door, picked up the quilt, tied up Powell, and then took out the phone book. Alii, come pick me up. The gemstone badge on Noah's inner vest shimmered slightly. Immediately, a circular hole opened in the air in front of him, and Noah led Powell through the wormhole and arrived in a cave in an instant. End of chapter. Chapter 22. The cave is under a coastal cliff in the southern part of Rum Island. This is also where Noah and his team landed. The Agiel brothers did not go to Cane Sugar Town during the day, but dug a temporary underground cave here. Alii, who possessed the cave fruit, easily dug an underground cave covering an area of several thousand square meters. After the wormhole opened, Noah and others passed through it one after another. Looking at the dead pig-like Powell, Ali was a little confused. Brother, is this guy the mastermind behind the scenes? There's nothing special about it. If you have any questions, I'll let you know later. Lilith injected the antidote into Powell's body, and Noah casually gave him a cubic meter of seawater. Under the cool sea water, Powell shuddered, and then slowly woke up. The fat pig, who had not yet understood the situation, immediately cursed. It's so cold. Where are they all dead? Why don't they? Suddenly, Powell's throat seemed to be blocked by something, and then he panicked. Who are you? Do you know who I am? Let me go quickly or else. What else? As soon as she finished speaking, Lilith approached the other party with a smile, and then pricked Powell's arm with a syringe. You? What did you do to me? After a while, Powell felt his arm begin to feel warm, then itchy, and then spread throughout his body. It's so itchy. If he hadn't been tied up, Powell might have scratched his skin to pieces. At this moment, he wanted to tear his skin to pieces and put it on the flames. 10 minutes later, the effect of the venom began to fade, but Powell was like a puddle of mud, and the quilt he was wrapped in was soaked with sweat. Lilith asked with a smile, "Can you say what you just said again? Minister Powell? You? Don't come over." Powell was so frightened that he cried bitterly. Noah stood up. "Let me ask you, why are the taxes in Rum Kingdom so heavy?" Of course this is to pay the heavenly gold. Noah looked at Mary, and she shook her head. He was not angry, but smiled and ordered, Lilith, give our minister more strength. No, no. I said. Lilith plunged 2 syringes into his arms again. Soon, the cave screamed like a slaughtering pig again. This time, Powell was sore and itchy for 20 minutes. 20 minutes later, his eyes were dull and he was completely exhausted. Noah repeated the previous question again. Let me ask you, why are the taxes in Rum Kingdom so heavy? This time Powell finally became honest and said cautiously, It's His Majesty the King. He asked me to do this. Oh, why does he want so much money? Isn't this almost 10 times more than the gold in the sky? Huh. Powell slowed down and then explained with a gloomy face. I don't know why, because I was promoted to Minister General only 3 years ago. Is there anything unusual about your king? Abnormal? Powell frowned. After a while, he seemed to remember something. The current king actually succeeded 5 years ago. He is not the son of the previous king, but his younger brother. Go on. 5 years ago, the only son of the previous king was killed by pirates. Not long after, the previous king died of illness. The current king who succeeded the throne was very normal at first, but 4 years ago, Clark, the former commander of the Royal Army, was killed by pirates. He promoted a man named Barton to succeed the army commander, and then began to introduce strict laws one after another. 3 years ago, the former chief minister, Earl Tim, was executed in the name of colluding with pirates. Then the king promoted me to the position of chief minister, and he asked me to promulgate various laws. Noah thought thoughtfully. Is there anything strange about Barton? Barton? There is nothing special about him, but his strength is pretty good. If it weren't for his protection over the years, Rum Island would have been captured by pirates long ago. He is known as a hero among the people. Hero? Noah laughed. He seemed to have read this script before. After asking some other things, Noah sealed this guy in the card. Lilith seemed to see something. Brother, do you suspect that Barton has any conspiracy? If there is any problem, we will find out tomorrow. He wrote a letter casually, and then gave a few instructions to Allie. The next day, in the Powell mansion in Rum City, the housekeeper discovered that Powell, his wife and children had disappeared, and a letter was left at the scene. After reading the prompts on the letter, although the housekeeper wanted to know the contents, he still did not dare to open the fire seal. Come here. Send someone to deliver this letter to the Legion commander's house. Okay, Mr. Butler. After the servant left, the butler's face looked a little uncertain. After thinking about it for more than 10 minutes, he quickly collected a large amount of treasure, disguised himself, and left Powell's mansion. Other side. Inside the residence of Army Commander Patton, Barton, who received the letter, looked very ugly at this time. He hurriedly left the mansion with a few confidants and rushed towards Cane Sugar Town. 5 hours later, in the southwest waters, 48 kilometers away from Rum Island, a sail warship with the logo of the Kingdom of Rum appeared on the sea. Not far away is a desert island. As he got closer to the desert island, Barton's face became more and more gloomy as he stood on the bow of the ship. Brother, we're here. A bald man reminded. Barton clenched his fists. Log in. Look at my signs later. Yes. The other 5 people were fully armed. As the ship docked, Patton and 5 of his men jumped onto the beach, leaving the bald man to watch the ship. Passing through the jungle, we came to a grassy hillside. A figure wearing a black windbreaker and a swirling mask was standing on the hillside, looking down at the arrival of Barton and his party. Where's Powell? He's in a safe place. Barton suddenly laughed. What do you want? Make a price. Let me guess. What is your ability? You have worked so hard to control the Rum Kingdom. Can't you just do it for those waste papers? Noah looked into the other party's eyes calmly. Barton grinned and said with a smile, Waste paper? That's more than 200 billion Baileys. Aren't you tempted? As long as you are willing to join us, I can give you half of it. Don't people live just for treasure? And you can also become a noble of the Rum Kingdom. Isn't this better than venturing out to sea? It's such a tempting offer, but why should I join you and kill you so that I can get all the treasures? Barton's smile became brighter. It turns out that you are interested in the money. It doesn't matter. Make a friend. As long as you agree to join us and help me become the king of the Rum Kingdom, I can give you 300 billion belly. This makes me excited. Lord Sith? My friend, come help? Barton suddenly froze, and then there was a murderous intent in his eyes. How did you tell? End of chapter. Chapter 23. The captain of the money pirates, Baroque Sith, a user with fruit exchange ability, with a bounty of 253.69 million Baileys, was killed by Marine Major General Sakaski in the Seven Waters capital of the Grand Line 6 years ago? Noah's words were very calm. It seems that exchanging fruits can also allow you to obtain other people's bodies or organs. Barton lowered his head, his eyes hidden in the shadows, and suddenly his body trembled slightly. Yes, yes, I appreciate you more and more, and finally give you a choice. Join my pirate group or die here. You are so confident. In the past few years, you have exchanged a lot of things in Rum Kingdom, right? Patton took action without hesitation. Die. More than a dozen crescent moon legs swept over. Do it. Flames erupted from the soles of Noah's shoes. His body rose into the air, and more than a dozen cards flew out. Liberation. The flood is rising. Hundreds of thousands of cubic meters of seawater suddenly erupted and hit Barton and others from midair. Nanny! Barton's face changed drastically, and he stamped his feet instantly, continuously stamping on the air. At the same time, he clenched his fists with both hands, and the armament on his body poured into his fists. Ha! 8 punches. Penetrate the cracking wave. 2 shock waves hit the seawater waterfall in midair. The 5 cadres of the money pirates also reacted quickly and fled in all directions. Noah continued to draw cards in midair. The clearance is completed and the venue has been transformed. Dozens of cards exploded into the air in all directions. Soon the cards exploded in midair, and hundreds of tons of graphite powder were blown up all over the sky, like clouds of black mist covering the entire desert island. Barton, who had just rushed out of the seawater waterfall, looked very unhappy when he saw the scene in front of him. At the same time, the warship anchored on the coast, and the bald man who was watching the ship on the deck also saw the black mist over the desert island. He immediately drew his giant sword and was on guard for the changes on the island. But the next moment, fierce explosions came from the bottom of the battleship, and the continuous explosions completely destroyed the battleship. The bald man had no time to react, and his whole body was swept into the seabed by the shock wave of the explosion. Just as he endured the pain in his internal organs, he struggled to swim up to the sea. A figure that looked like a sharp sword suddenly appeared behind him. Before the bald man could react, his waist was pierced by a short sword. Ah, wow. Gulu gulu. The bald man struggled painfully. However, that figure did not give him time to breathe, as another lightning-fast attack suddenly appeared behind him. The fierce bald man immediately drew his big sword and smashed it in the back, as if he wanted to kill both of them. But the dagger that attacked did not pause at all. The next moment, the short sword was inserted into the chest of the bald man. But the big sword of the bald man seemed to be cutting into the air, sliding directly past the opponent's body. Wow! Gulu gulu. The bald man could no longer control his mouth, and sea water rushed into his throat and lungs. He looked at the girl in front of him unwillingly, but his body became heavier and heavier. His opponent is Mary, who ate the slippery fruit. At this time, Mary was holding a small oxygen bottle respirator in her mouth, carrying 4 daggers on her back, and trying her best to maintain smooth mode. Without hesitation, Mary drew out her dagger again and cut off the bald man's head. Grom, the captain of the 8th Division of the Money Pirates, and the giant sword with a bounty of 87.26 million Baileys, was killed after being washed away by Noah's seawater. The other 5 cadres of the Money Pirates have been scattered at this time. Troy, the sniper, is vigilant about the situation in the forest with a pistol. Especially after the strange black mist came, he tried his best to stimulate his emotions. Suddenly, he ducked towards the big tree on the left. Boom! The place where I was standing just now was hit by a fireball. Damn it! Another ability user? Could these guys be from the world government? Troy's face was very ugly. He clenched the pistol with both hands and quickly jumped towards another big tree. Suddenly, he saw the color and went crazy. However, it was too late. In midair, hundreds of blue fire crows descended from the sky. Mimetic hydrogen and oxygen. The crows have fallen. The blue fire crow, which simulates the combustion of hydrogen and oxygen, covers the location of Troy indiscriminately. No. Troy's proud trick and spear skills were useless. Faced with the large-scale blow from the burning fruit, he was burned to ashes by blue flames in a moment. Troy, the sniper of the Money Pirates, and with a bounty of 132 million Baileys, was killed. Catclaw Brian, the 5th captain of the Money Pirates who fled to the coast, had entered a half-animal state and ran madly towards the coast. Damn it! There are actually people with the ability to control seawater. We must escape. There is no chance of winning if we stay. Just when he was flooded with thoughts, the ground shook suddenly, and then the ground fell apart, and a large amount of seawater emerged from the ground. Nanny! He was shocked, and immediately stepped on the moonwalk to take off to avoid being affected by the seawater emerging from the ground. Damn it, it's getting more and more dangerous here. We must get back to the ship immediately. However, he was still too happy too early. In midair, Lilith grabbed the special belt behind Ariai's back. Ale formed a hollow with the palms of his hands. Explode water shockwave. A huge wormhole formed in midair, and connected to the other side of the wormhole was the nearby seafloor. As if the sky had been pierced, a huge amount of seawater mixed with fish, shrimps, and sea monsters fell on Brian, who was walking on the moonwalk. Brian's beast instinct was triggered immediately, and the hairs all over his body suddenly stood up. Then he felt the surroundings darken, and his body was hit by seawater. It's over. These were his last thoughts. As a user with fruit abilities, Brian was hit by seawater, and the huge amount of seawater, coupled with the terrifying impact, gave Brian no chance to struggle. This is also due to Brian being too public. If he hadn't used the half-beast form during his escape, Lilith and Alii wouldn't have specifically targeted him. Lilith picked up the phone. Anthony, Tomini, the devil fruit user who was knocked into the sea, please cooperate with Mary to catch him back. He will be seen alive, and his body will be seen dead. Although he was robbed of his prey, Anthony still knew the seriousness of the matter. Leave it to us? The other side of the island. The two cadres of the money pirates who fled towards the mountains met Joseph and Vic, who were ambushing here. These two officers are both swordsmen of the money pirates, and they are also brothers. Are you the enemy? The one-eyed swordsman immediately waved his sword and slashed at Joseph. Joseph had already entered the half-animal state at this time, and was covered in steel armor, and the battle axes in his hands were even more armed and domineering. Bang, bang, bang. The axe blade collided fiercely with the blade. Animal-type ability user, also armed with haki. One-Eye was very shocked. He did not expect to encounter such a monster in the East China Sea, and his younger brother Go Jian was also shocked at this time. You can read more daily new novels on fictionzone.net. Both sites share the same login details, so you don't need to sign up again. End of chapter. Chapter 24. The gloves on Vic's fists were now covered with a pitch-black armed domineering force. The hook sword's sharp knife collided with Vic's glove. Both sides retreated at the first touch. Immediately, Vic kicked his legs fiercely, and several launchy air blades swept across. Hook sword dodges while covering the blade with its armament color to block the incoming lawn leg air blade. The one-eyed man who was entangled by Joseph felt more and more solemn as he listened to the sounds coming from other places. The two sides fought fiercely for several minutes, but they were still evenly matched. The reason for this embarrassing situation is that neither side can do anything about its opponent. The brothers One-Eye and Go Jian are high-speed players, while Vic and Joseph are high-defense players. If one side cannot break the defense, the other side cannot defeat the opponent. It was a stalemate. To break the situation, you can only rely on other people to rush over to support you. Obviously, the advantage at this time is on the side of the Noah family. Lilith and Alii, who had solved Catclaw Brian, had already arrived in the sky above this place. Seeing the right moment, Alii jumped through a wormhole and suddenly appeared behind One-Eye. Water breaks the wave. He unfolded a miniature wormhole the size of a thumb in the palm of his hand. At this time, the wormhole connected to the opposite side was in a trench of more than 8,000 meters under the sea. In such a deep trench, the water pressure exceeds 800 atmospheres. In an instant, a water jet swept towards Du Yin's back. Joseph, who was opposite One-Eye, immediately stepped on the ground. Shave. Joseph retreated instantly. The one-eyed seeing and hearing color has already sensed the danger and immediately rolled forward. The water jet swept across and the trees were cut in half. Just avoiding the water jet caused One-Eye's rhythm to be disrupted. Bang, bang, bang. Ali held a revolver in his other hand, and combined with the indestructible water jet, he kept attacking One-Eye. One-Eye was soon bitten by a bullet. As he lost blood after being shot, his movements became more chaotic and his reactions became slower and slower. Joseph, who had just jumped out of the fighting range, quickly raised the stone and threw it at One-Eye. Facing the One-Eye attack from both front and back, the situation became increasingly precarious. Ah no. The one who screamed was not One-Eye, but his brother Go Jian. Just now, I was worried that my brother's hook sword was hit by the poisonous needle of Lilith who was lurking in the dark. The violent supracardiac glycoside toxin instantly caused his muscles to spasm and his heartbeat to become chaotic. The premise that seeing, hearing, being domineering requires calmness is broken. Vic seized the opportunity and broke Go Jian's left hand with a fist. The hook sword was so large that he had no time to dodge, and was hit by Lilith's poisonous needle again. Vic kept up his efforts and punched through the opponent's chest with his fist. Hearing his brother's screams, One Eye widened with anger and screamed, "Assholes! I'm going to kill you." However, Alii and the others did not fight blindly with the opponent, and directly launched a more violent attack. The water blade swept across and the bullets roared. Poison needles attack secretly, and boulders are projected. In less than 10 seconds, One Eye's body was covered with bullet holes, and the toxins spread rapidly. The next moment, the water jet cut him off at the waist, and a huge boulder falling from the sky hit his head, directly smashing One Eye's head. One Eye and Go Jian were killed. The last leader of the money pirates. He was running away like crazy at this time. He was very short in size, but his speed was not slow at all. Instead, he used his size to keep dodging trees in the forest. But he didn't know that he was being targeted. As the battle elsewhere comes to an end, Ajay, who had been secretly preparing to support his companions, finally took action. In an instant, countless black lines emerged from the forest. The graphene threads that were previously hidden in the forest seemed to come alive and surrounded the fleeing dwarfs. What? Bang, bang, bang. After emptying the pistol, the dwarf found that it had no effect at all and immediately raised his hand. I surrender. Don't kill me. I know where Barton's money is hidden. Ajay, who was hiding in the dark, did not come out. Instead, he controlled the graphene threads and directly tied the dwarf into a dumpling. At this point, the 6 remaining cadres of the money pirates were completely wiped out. His eyes returned to the middle of the desert island. Barton, who was stepping on the moonwalk, looked at the black fog around him and the seawater still raging below. He found that the location chosen by the other party was very clever. The middle of the island was a lowland, which prevented the seawater from receding quickly. You must fight in the mountains, otherwise you will be easily affected by the seawater. He quickly stepped on the air and ran towards the hillside where Noah was standing just now. Noah raised his hand and shook it. The bomb card underground on the hillside was immediately activated. Barton, who was in midair, had just stepped onto the hillside, and when he saw the scene, he gave a frantic warning. It's too late. Life exchange, black armor. In an instant, the hillside looked like a volcano erupting. The vitality in Barton's body continued to decrease, and the dark, armed, domineering energy was consumed crazily. When the smoke cleared, Patton was still intact. Go to hell. Barton's hands condensed with terrifying armed domineering energy. 8 Chung fist, sea-splitting fist. Noah shot a card over, and the flames on the soles of his feet surged, and his body instantly rose up to hundreds of meters. The card was hit, and thousands of cubic meters of seafloor mud surged down instantly. The non-Newtonian fluid formed by the silt caused Barton's attack to stagnate, and then exploded the silt. Barton wanted to use Moonwalk to chase Noah again, but was hit by the rain of silt flying in the sky. He felt powerless for a moment. No, there is something wrong with this silt. However, there was too much mud around him, and Barton became increasingly weak. The next second, he became even more desperate, because there was a big ball of seawater falling down from the top of my head. Boom. Barton was hit by the seawater. His body completely lost strength, and his fruit power showed no response. I'm not willing to give in. So what if you are unwilling to do so? The winner is the king and the loser is the bandit, and the loser is the loser. Noah took out the phone book. Ajay, start the fishing net. Copy that, brother Noah. The graphene thread hidden in the central lowland soon picked up Barton, who was washed into the lowland by the seawater. However, in order to prevent the other party from pretending to be dead, Ajay followed Noah's instructions and soaked the other party's lower body in the seawater. Soon, in a swamp in the central lowlands, a graphite giant climbed up from under the swamp. The graphite giant, which was more than 10 meters high, was also connected to a large number of graphene wires. The graphite giant came not far from Noah, and then the graphite giant's chest popped open, revealing the cockpit inside. Ajay had been hidden in the graphite giant's body. Brother Noah, unbind Barton. Clear. Immediately, the graphene threads on Barton's body were untied. Noah took out an iron bucket similar to an iron lung device and stuffed Barton into the bucket, leaving only one head outside the bucket. The bucket was filled with seawater. Then seal Barton into the card. Noah took Ajay, sealed another captured dwarf, and finally gathered at the beach. On the beach by the sea, Anthony soaked the cat paw Brian found by Mary in an oak barrel, which was naturally filled with seawater. End of chapter. Chapter 25. Noah did the same thing to Brian the cat's paw. Then he asked Art to open the wormhole, and the group returned to the underground cave on Rum Island. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Had it not been for the numerical advantage of the Noah family this time, and the battle plan formulated by Noah at the beginning, the result might have been a tragic victory. For example, Uncle Joseph and Vic have obvious shortcomings. They have no control skills or large-scale attack methods. They have no problems in the East China Sea. Once they reach the Grand Line, they may be targeted by the enemy. Noah asked some of his friends to rest first. He took Mary and Lilith to release the dwarf sealed in the card. As soon as he was released, the dwarf woke up from a dream and was startled by the sudden change in the environment. What do you call him, Mr. Dwarf? Noah asked with a smile while playing with the tarot cards in his hand. Gulu. The dwarf swallowed his throat and quickly replied, My name is Rudin, and I am the navigator of the money pirates. Did Barton help you change your appearance? Lu Dan was confused. Yes, Barton used his ability to help us transform it. What's going on with King Rum? King Rum is a member of our pirate group. The original king is dead. The current King Rum is Barton disguised through the fruit's ability. How much do you know about the ability to exchange fruits? Lu Dan was very knowledgeable and explained everything about how Barton used the fruit's abilities. According to Rudin's description and a few words from the Devil Fruit illustrated book, Noah quickly figured out the ability to exchange fruits. The core root of this fruit is equivalent exchange. Of course, this equivalent exchange is a relatively idealistic equivalent. After all, everyone's values are different. His honey is my arsenic. This is the principle. Therefore, when using the ability to exchange fruits, several conditions must be met. First, both parties personally agree to the transaction. Second, during the transaction, the capable person cannot take action against the traitor. Third, if both parties to the transaction are unable to pay the promised conditions, they will be forced to randomly deprive the untrustworthy person of part of his organs or part of his life force and hand them to the other party. Fourth, if the traitor dies before completing the transaction, the person with abilities can designate to deprive the other party of part of his organs or part of his life force. That unlucky king listened to Barton's lies and asked Barton to help him plot to usurp the throne. In the end, he got away with it and was tricked by Barton. After all, there are too many loopholes in the so-called trading rules that can be exploited. For example, you cannot take action against the other party during the transaction. Barton's subordinates do not have this restriction. This is also the reason why Barton has been tempting Noah to agree to join the money pirates. As long as Noah agrees, the other party can force Noah not to do anything to him, and thus set traps for Noah through transactions one after another. From Rudin's explanation, Noah also knew Barton's strength. After being attacked by Sakaski, Barton, who fled to the East China Sea, learned from the experience and decided to use the fruit's ability to gain enough vitality, and then use the vitality to continuously exercise his body. The reason why a large number of exorbitant taxes and miscellaneous taxes are levied in Rum Kingdom is to force the civilians of Rum Kingdom to go bankrupt, and then conduct transactions with desperate civilians through secret underground loan sharking banks. In this way, Barton gained huge vitality and money in the Kingdom of Rum, which also gradually expanded his ambitions, and even planned to make himself the real king of the Kingdom of Rum. If he hadn't met Noah and his group, he might have succeeded. And Noah was very grateful for his caution. Barton's physical skills are very powerful, and coupled with the huge vitality stored in his body, once he confronts the opponent head-on, Noah may not necessarily be able to defeat the opponent. This also shows from the side that the restraint of seawater on devil fruit users is terrible. Even a master like Barton, whose physical strength reaches the elite lieutenant general level, will turn into a soft-legged shrimp as soon as he touches the seawater. When Barton came over, did he say anything to the fake king? Lu Dan shook his head. No. As soon as he received your letter, he hurriedly brought us over without notifying the fake king. Seeing Noah's silence, Rudin quickly expressed his loyalty. Sir, if you need it, I can help control that guy. He has a lot of tricks in Barton's hands. In addition, I also know where Barton's money is hidden. Then I'll trouble you. Noah laughed. Lilith on the side took out a syringe, and with Lu Dan's uneasy eyes, inserted the syringe into the vein of the opponent's arm. Noah comforted him with a smile. Don't worry, as long as you don't betray me, I will naturally give you the antidote when the time comes. Haha. I understand. Lu Dan didn't dare to show anything. When Rudin was taken down by Lilith to rest, Mary and Noah were the only ones left in the room. Mary said what she had sensed just now, brother. He should only know about the fake king. As for Barton's money, judging from his inner emotions just now, I don't think he knows. Normally, in order to avoid being beaten by us, he deliberately increased his importance. At noon that day, in the slums northwest of Rum City, there is an underground loan shark hidden underground. A dozen people in charge were already lying on the ground. Lilith and Noah got a large stack of documents and looked through them for a few minutes. Noah smiled and patted the document in his hand. Rudin, you did a good job. It is my honor to be able to help you, sir. The next second, his eyes widened, and he saw Lilith's poisoned dagger piercing her heart from behind. Ahem, why? Because I have never believed you. Only dead people will not leak secrets. Looking at Lu Dan, who was still dead, Noah took out a card named Pond of Royal Water, released it, and casually threw Lu Dan's body into the pool of king water. Ah! Lu Dan, who had just been thrown into the king's pool, immediately screamed. Noah asked with a smile, returning life is a good practice, but it's a pity that I don't like leaving corpses for the enemy. You have to die, ah. Finally, Lu Dan turned into a pool of blood in the Aqua Regia. Lilith, Mary, this place is left to you too. Just let them obey for the time being. Lilith and Mary nodded. Soon the pair were hammering the moneylenders. The fake king didn't know at this time that Patton and others were already finished, and he didn't care about General Secretary Powell, because he knew that he was just a puppet, just waiting to die and enjoying himself. Noah, who returned to the underground cave, released Brian, the cat's claw, who was imprisoned in the card. Looking at the unconscious Brian in front of him, there was a trace of thought in his eyes. End of chapter.
Thanks for watching. You can find the next videos in the playlist linked in the info card, directly on my channel, or right here on the screen. And as always, if you have any feedback, feel free to share it in the comments too.